All right, welcome to the 2024 AI Symposium. I'm your host, Tom Simmons, and with us we have Sandy Scarlotta as my co-host. Sandy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so excited for this event because I don't know a whole lot about AI, and I feel like I'm probably just like most of the audience where I know how to use Chat GPT a little bit. I've taken a few courses here and there, and you've just done such a great job of lining up so many phenomenal experts so that we can kind of take some of the stigma, if you will, because it seems so overwhelming for so many people, right? And yet it's just becoming such an important part of our lives and our businesses for sure. So I'm excited for today.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover. This is only a 4-hour event. We'll be hosting a second event sometime mid to late June. That'll be a 2-day event with very specialized panels, even more expert speakers. So if you are seeing this right now on all the social medias platforms, if you could take a minute and share this stream to your socials and ask 2 or 3 other people to also share. We're going to really get this kicked off and start our first panel, which is how to use artificial intelligence in marketing. We're going to kick that off right about 4:15 Eastern. And we are expecting a really phenomenal show. Some of the information that I've learned in the past 2.5 weeks has absolutely blown my mind. For example, Sandy, by the end of 2030, it's projected that artificial intelligence will add over $10 trillion to the global GDP. That's a lot of money. That's not a B, that's a T, it's a trillion.
That's crazy.
And there's going to be more billionaires created in the next 10 years than all the billionaires created combined.
I can only imagine because I know several people who are probably pretty close to that, to reaching that because of their AI technology that they've either developed or they're putting out to the marketplace. And it's exciting.
And it's insane that if you love it, hate it, you're indifferent to AI. It's amazing that it's here. AI has been in development for a couple decades, but we're getting ready to see in the next 12 to 18 months just a huge hockey stick effect where you saw nothing. You see some programs, you see Netflix, you see Siri and Alexa, and all of a sudden it's going to explode at a massive level. We are starting to see some folks join us on the stream. Feel free to share this live stream. We're going to be getting the first panel, which is a marketing panel, how to use artificial intelligence in marketing, how it can add value to your business, how you can make money with it. We're going to be kicking that off here in about 10 minutes. So hit that share button. Definitely would like to see a few thousand live viewers. And while we're waiting, Sandy, could you give us a background as far as who you are? And just brag on yourself for just a minute.
Absolutely. I'm Sandy Scarlotta. I am author of Happiness Solved, Climbing 100 Steps, and I'm co-hosting here today. I'm the host of Happiness Solved podcast. I'm launching on E360 television in 2 weeks. It was supposed to be a couple weeks ago, and going from a podcast host to a TV host is very different. And while done is better than perfect, I'm still trying to refine a few things. It's really exciting because the podcasting industry, I was involved from 2008 to 2010 and went through a divorce and walked away from my podcast, writing books, life coaching, speaking on stages and all of that. So when I came back into this realm in 2020 was when things were starting to launch. The podcast and the book was actually launched in February of 2021. I was so clueless. And let me tell you, if I had Chat GPT in 2021, it would have saved me a lot of time. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to learn more today. What I can share about my own journey with my podcast is that in January of 2021, my podcast was teetering around 2,000 downloads a month. And I started being very strategic and more consistent with very specific things. One of the things I added was AI for my podcast. And there's a specific service called Capsho, CAPSSHO. And what happens is once I have a fully edited podcast episode, you upload it into Capsho. It creates the title, it does show notes, it does the transcription, and dozens of content that you can use on social media. I had heard from an expert years ago that whenever you implement something in your business, it can take 3 months for the results to start really showing.
Mhm.
So I said in January, I was getting about 2,000 downloads. By April, I almost hit 10,000 downloads in 1 month. So I've
Wow.
kept up with everything that I've been doing, and now I'm getting it's around 125,000 downloads a month. And I really do attribute that to a lot of the consistency. But when it comes down to something like a podcast, what you're calling it, just that title right there, is either going to grab people or repel people. And so I really believe that that has made a big difference. And I've actually had people that I've talked to, and I mentioned it, they're like, I've noticed a difference in how your shows are being titled, and it pulls people in. And so I'm very grateful for AI. I do use it a lot, even if it's just something as simple as, I create a new landing page for a product that I'm releasing, and it helps write it up. And then of course you can go in and change it, but that one paragraph would take me hours to write, and you
Wow.
can get it in a matter of seconds. And that's the beauty, is that in today's business, time is money.
Right.
And many times you need it to come to your voice. Now, the more you're out there, this is the interesting thing. I've played around and be like, oh, tell me how to write this, blah, 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 blah in so-and-so's voice. And they do that. Well, I went in there and I said, now do it in Sandy Scarlatta's voice. And I have enough content out there that it is writing things in my voice,
Wow. And
not
that's
my
why,
physical voice, my written word of how I would write something up.
you're in the top 0.5% globally for all downloads,
Yes.
and the executive
Yes.
director for the LA Tribune Podcast Network. So
Yes.
happy you're with us. Um, Well, we are going to be starting with the marketing panel here in about 5 minutes. I want to give everybody a chance. If you're seeing this stream, help us, help other people. Share the live stream to your socials, and maybe even ask a couple of friends or family members also to share this valuable information with on their socials. We don't have a $50,000 marketing budget, which a lot of large companies, when they charge for artificial intelligence summits and symposiums and events, they charge thousands of dollars, but they also spend thousands of dollars to produce these events. So we're doing it on a grassroots movement, organically, just through social media shares. So we are going to grow this event and create a community. And this whole idea started when I could not find events that were free, that I could gather information, learn about artificial intelligence without being pitched by companies. So I said, well, why don't we create a show, create an event, make it free for everybody, and help bring everybody along. 'Cause a lot of people I've talked to, a lot of people, Sandy, you've talked to, they all are looking for information, but there's nothing out there. And we're getting ready to have the most transformational event in technology, period. So all this is getting ready to occur, and it's just no one knows anything about it. So
Well, and you raised a really, really big point, Tom, in that, I'm a solopreneur. I do have some team members, but for the most part, it's me. And I don't I'm not willing at this point in my business to spend $2,000 to go learn about all of this information, when it's just, I just need bits and pieces. And so this is the perfect type of event just for so many of us out there. you know, I'm not looking to learn how to code in order to create some sort of AI technology. I want some basics. I want to know, like this marketing panel. I'm so excited about this because I want to know more information on how I can use AI to help my marketing efforts in my business. So,
And you
yeah.
mentioned not knowing how to code. One of our speakers they've prepared about a 3-minute explanation on how ChatGPT combined or stacked with another software will write code for you. In fact, I just read an article right before I came on that AI is self-writing code. So there's a program out there that came out within the past 2 weeks. I can't think of the name of it. We'll have to get that out to everyone within the community. That it'll essentially write code for you. So it's getting to the point you don't even need to understand how to write code. You just need to know how to write the prompts and how to test the code. And there are programs out there. So as long as you know the programs to use, you can write code. You can build AI programs, and we're going to be showing part of that today.
Awesome.
But all right.
Clueless.
So we're going to go ahead and start adding the marketing panel. If you are seeing this live stream, please share the post, share the live stream so we can get this information out to as many people as possible. Welcome, Matthew, Jeff, Dr. Corbin, and William Beliles. All right.
Yes, welcome, everyone.
Glad to be here.
Whoops. Bear with me here. Sorry about that. And in we're probably going to keep this QR code up in the top right-hand corner just for a few minutes. And this is our way of creating that community and pushing out as we get updates on the AI technology coming out over the course of the next couple months. We'll be able to push information out to people. And like I said, most, if not all of these speakers, hopefully they'll want to come back and we'll have a larger event. And we'll be able to build on the basics and on the foundation that we're putting in place today. So, Miss Sandy, if you want to kick off the marketing panel, we have a lot of information to provide. These guys have a ton of information, and I'm excited to hear what they have to say, and I'm excited to learn.
Fantastic. So am I. I am so excited for this. Before we start getting into the questions, can we just go around and very briefly just state who you are, what you do, and how you are using AI in your business? Jeff, let me turn it over to you first.
Cool. So yeah, Jeff from here, Australia. I'm using AI to help people in the social selling arena, in the network marketing arena, basically helping them to take people along the customer value journey. And it's been a game changer in my game, and just love being able to support people in that space as well.
All right. Well, thank you for being here all the way from Australia. All right, William, you're next.
Hey, I'm William. I'm the founder and CEO of Genesis Solar Power, and I am a national solar contractor changing the world.
Love it. Dr. Corbin.
I'm Corbin Allenbrand. My day job is managing data engineering at a company called Quest Diagnostics, but I'm also an AI machine learning researcher. Just finished my PhD in May of this year, so wow. Fresh out of academia.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations. Wow. And a data engineer, no less. So Quest Diagnosis, is that the blood lab?
Yeah, we do much more than
oh, okay. See, I just know it as a lab where you know, they hand me the form and I go get my blood work done there. So,
yeah, I mean, like one of the things we do is we basically optimize how physicians order labs and stuff for the patient. So that's one of the ways we use AI and machine learning is basically we make people healthier by having the physicians do their jobs better.
Nice. We certainly need that for sure. And Matthew.
Hey everybody, Matthew Maniac. I'm the founder of Double M Digital and the co-founder of Noble Vision AI. So Double M Digital is a video production company. I'm based here in St. Augustine, Florida. And Noble Vision AI, we are an AI-powered marketing agency that helps to enhance and optimize the customer value journey for small business owners.
Nice. Awesome. Love St. Augustine. That's a beautiful place. So my first question, I think I'd like to start with Matthew, since you really do specialize in marketing. What are some common challenges that small businesses face when integrating AI into their marketing, and how can they overcome it?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question to start off with, and I think one of the key points to start off with is the fear that's out there, and because we are preconditioned for this idea of what AI is, i.e., Skynet. A lot of business owners I've found are kind of shut off to this idea of what AI could be for them. And so, where I like to start people is looking at, okay, what's taking you a long time? And that's usually going to be connecting with your customers, engaging your audience to be more active, and then ultimately guiding them down the process of getting to know, like, and trust you through content creation, through blog posts, through social media, to the point where they ultimately convert into a customer down the line.
Jeff, let's turn it over to you. Same question.
Yeah, so as a content marketer and in the social selling arena, I 100% agree with Matthew there. It's, I basically teach people how to go through the customer value journey, right? And that starts off with awareness and engagement. And I found by niching down and using AI in that space to be able to help people in the market research to find their ideal audience, they can niche down their market message to connect, relate, and resonate with people's hearts, and help people become problem aware and solution aware, and take people through that journey, to becoming a lead, to becoming a customer, and through that whole journey. Like, AI has played a whole part in that role for me, and to the point that actually AI has probably saved my marriage. My grammar, my spelling, I'm a high school dropout. That's atrocious. And I just put it through ChatGPT 4, and it could talk in my voice, and I no longer have to reach out to my wife and say, hey, can you proofread this, please? So argument after argument used to happen as human in our household, because I wanted to get things out there live and get it out there fast. And now I can just run that all through AI. And as I keep saying to everybody, this literally has saved my marriage.
Okay, Tom, take a note. Next time we do this, we'll have to have a whole segment on using AI to improve your relationships.
Right.
Whole nother topic. I love it. All right, William.
So as a business owner myself, we operate out of several states. I'd say like the struggle for us is, and Tom, maybe even you resonate. And in our industry, it's kind of like a bombardment of marketing options that we have. And I think for us, it's this insane overstimulation that we have. Without an exaggeration, if I don't get 3 to 5 messages a day asking if I want to scale my business by adding 50 new jobs a month, it would be a weird day. I'd be concerned that something happened to my social media. So for me, I think that's the biggest struggle with marketing, with just marketing in general, not even just AI, is as business owners, we are good at one thing, and that's what we started our business with. And normally that's not marketing. That's why Jeff and Matt probably exist, right? And so we're trying to absorb this and understand it. And AI is a little scary. Matt Cochise, I'm a high school graduate, but that's about it. When I think of AI, I'm thinking of Terminator. And that's how it started. And so then it was just through research, it got me interested in AI. But the biggest struggle, I think, with just marketing in general is its oversaturation. And I think AI is going to clean and cull the herd.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Last but not least, for overcoming some of these common challenges that small business owners face when integrating AI into their marketing, Dr. Corbin.
Yeah, I think, William, Matthew, and Jeff touched on it. There are kind of several objectives that a small business owner wants to achieve. Finding your target audience, like Matt and Jeff were talking about, is a big one. And like what William was saying, is the landscape of these tools is, if you count it, it's over 1,000. Not just from target audience identification, but all the way down to management of your customers. So customer resource management, or relationship management. So I think my biggest advice, and this is for any business size, is first write down your entire workflow from the beginning to end. And then within that workflow, identify your bottlenecks. Where are you spending the most time? Where, if you could improve, you would see the biggest return on investment, because we're in the world where every single stage of the marketing pipeline, there's an AI tool out there. So it's nice because if you can, as a business owner, know where within marketing your weak points are, you can find a tool that helps you. And my second recommendation would be, from that point, don't go to a company that sells you the product to get advice. Try to find a friend, if you have one that's close, or attend events like this where, neutral parties are just talking from their expertise, or, try to find somebody who does independent consulting for cheap. They're more of just trying to help the community because they're unbiased. As soon as you talk to somebody who owns something they're trying to sell to you, they're going to give you biased advice. So I'll end it there.
So well said. And I have to agree with everyone is so on point. A lot of common themes in the same for the same question, a lot of different answers, but common themes. Dr. Ellen Brand, I have to say, I love what you said. I saw a lot of moving heads up and down when you said, write down the workflow and see where your bottlenecks are. There are literally thousands of options out there. Software's out there. There's a lot of fear. You can have a lot of cost. So I want to go around and ask the panel, because there are a lot of options. There is a lot of fear in the marketplace. What are the top 1 or 2 programs, just in general, for a small business that maybe would make the most immediate impact when it comes to marketing? Jeff, why don't we kick off that question with yourself?
Yeah, cool. And I'd have to say, like everybody needs to have in their toolkit ChatGPT 4. I actually used to stand against this tool when it first came out. And I was one of those guys out there that were, banging the drum beat that, hey, this tool's not going to work. It can't speak like me. It's got no heart. But actually having to relearn the tool, it's an input-output tool, right? And when we can lay the foundations down, ChatGPT 4, it definitely is a game changer in that space. And then the second tool that I would have to use in a content marketing perspective is AI imagery. Bing Image Creator is definitely one of the ones that just I'm probably using myself 20 times a day, just creating awesome images.
I love that. And we are going to have a whole panel just on the generative large language model, Mid-Journey. I'm sure Sora might come up. You have ChatGPT. Google has theirs. There is a whole host of generative AI tools coming, and ChatGPT and one of them. Excellent question. Dr. Ellenbrand, same question.
Yeah, I think for a small business, there's freemiumware, like there's free versions of stuff. Obviously AI chatbots, so ChatGPT is one example. Google has Bard, HubSpot has their own. So there's various of these AI chatbots. That's a good place to start because it helps you with kind of the day-to-days. Another one would be, it goes by various names, but content writing. So something that could crank out, marketing emails or marketing blog posts, and then convert, let's say, a blog post to a YouTube video, basically going between channels. There's Get Genie, there's Jasper, there's various softwares for those. And then kind of what Jeff mentioned, AI image generation. So OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT, has DALL-E 2. It produces good images. There's Jasper Art, there's various other versions of this AI image generation. But to touch back onto what I said earlier, really figure out what you're not very good at in your job, and then try to find the tool that's free for that. And that's going to help out most immensely.
Awesome. And I'd like to go back and have you expound on some of those programs, but for lack of time, we may not be able to. Matthew.
So I'm actually going to come in here and throw a couple curveballs. So I actually like to use Claude as a language processing one. It works very similarly to ChatGPT, but I find that the outputs are a little more robust, a little less canned. Because if you use ChatGPT for long enough, you start seeing the same responses and same sentence structure. I find that Claude is able to get a little more in depth with it. and actually come off a little more organic. It also has a lot more capabilities for some more expansive, say, content needs. As an example, I'm doing some work in the Web3 and crypto space, and I was able to leverage Claude to basically translate raw code into hypothetical scenarios that we could then leverage as part of a greater business plan. Then another one that isn't really being talked about a whole lot is in the video space, and that's Runway. I've actually been able to leverage that to take images generated by things like Midjourney and DALL-E and convert images to videos. And so there's a big sort of movement that's kind of brimming right now in AI filmmaking, as far as being able to leverage these AI generated images, converting them to videos, and then being able to tell stories through that technology as well.
And I'm going to stay with you, Matt, for a real quick follow-up question. You mentioned Runway. That is a standalone piece of software. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And we had a Facebook user ask, how do we get to Claude?
So I believe the URL is just claude.ai, but if you do a Google search for Claude AI, it'll be the first one, I believe, that pops up.
Awesome. William, a couple pieces of software.
The crazy thing is, like, being the last speaker here, I need to like write down your question because I'm so absorbed into their responses. I'm like, what was it? But I do remember it. I'm actually going to dumb it down for myself and like other colleagues of mine that I know are watching with us, and say, like, we've been using AI for a long time. So a lot of us as small business owners, like, our Outlook accounts have AI in them, right? AI, that artificial intelligence, my emails are automated. My automated response times are triggered to come back. You're using that every day. So if you want to talk about like simplistic programs, if you're like, hey, where do I start? Because there's some people, Claude, I'm pretty sure I have a twice room uncle in my family named Claude. That's a terrible joke. But if you were trying to pick a place to start, automate your emails, your CRMs, all our CRMs. Somebody mentioned HubSpot, great CRM is all automated. Your internal processes that you're probably using now, that you're paying for today, are probably AI supported and you don't even know it. And you're already paying for it right now. So it doesn't have to be something as complex as writing a ghostwriter book through ChatGPT, or something as just setting up your emails to follow up if they're unresponded every 5 days. That is artificial intelligence at its core.
Right. So well said.
Fantastic. I've been taking all sorts of notes. So this is really great, guys. Thank you so much. All right. So in terms of personalization and customer engagement, what role do you see AI playing, and how can businesses balance the personalization with privacy concerns? Jeff, we'll start with you. Laptop Lifestyle Dad. Is that your podcast?
That's my brand.
That's your brand. Okay.
Don't have a podcast just right now, but I am about to launch one. And yeah. So,
fantastic.
Awesome.
All right. So
it's an interesting question. So personalization and privatization. So I feel like in the social selling space, personalization is becoming more and more prominent, and a need to be able to separate yourself from the crowd, especially in the network marketing industry, right? There are a lot of reps in different companies, and a lot of they're all part of the same company, all banging the same drum beat, and essentially, the social selling space is where they're all struggling is to learning how to use this social media arena to be able to help them promote their products and services. The network marketing industry has some great opportunities. It has some great products, but it attracts those people and they're into that. And then they go, oh crap, now I need to learn how to market myself. And personal branding is definitely a thing that it's going to become more and more prominent in this space to be able to help you to separate yourself from the rest of the crowd, to raise above the noise and essentially create your own business around using other people's products and services. So, basically teaching people how to leverage these awesome tools out there. Matthew mentioned Runway. Well, I've been experimenting lately with HeyGen. which is another video AI tool out there. And some people are out there now using these tools to create like a faceless type brand, and turning like these mascots, like my caffeinated kangaroo, and turning that into a talking, moving motion picture and bringing that to life. And what I'm finding personally in this space is it's, when you can create something unique and something like this caffeinated kangaroo, it's memorable, right? So like how that was born, just quickly, like I put into ChatGPT 4 and I said, okay, look, I want to create a brand wrapped around, the Aussie larrikin like Steve Irwin and, Big Kev back in the 90s, and some real iconic brands. And I wanted to make it my own, put a bit of a spin about my history. And I just wanted to come up with a catchphrase for I'm excited. Well, it came up with and said, look, I'm as excited as a caffeinated kangaroo jumping around on a trampoline. And so I ran with that concept and I was able to use that as part of my brand moving forward. So now Jeff Ross is known as the laptop lifestyle dad, also known as the caffeinated kangaroo. And it's been, AI has been a really huge part in personalizing that brand and making something that's a memorable experience that people just see the caffeinated kangaroo right now and they go, right, that's Jeff Ross. And it's really thanks to ChatGPT 4 and image creators and tools like HeyGen that have brought that to fruition.
Love it. I'm just going to go around here. William, you're the next on my list. So what are your thoughts on that topic?
Another great example of me getting so absorbed into his response that I half remember the question. But if I'm really struggling with this one.
Well, that's
I was
okay.
so absorbed with his caffeinated statement, I'm writing that part down. But like in regards to customer facing in personalization, I'm pretty biased with this. I am the most black and white business owner that you could meet. I don't need to be sold. I'm a numbers guy. I'm a hit me with the facts. Cool thing for us is AI, at least for us, it has allowed me to lower my cost of payroll with our customer facing platforms. Our systems, and they're still even developing, getting better every day, but they send notifications and updates to all our customers constantly. I no longer need a human body to do that anymore. And believe it or not, AI talks better than me. So that's really cool. Personalization wise, I think in the B2B world, because we do a lot of business to business too. So I'm definitely really biased here. Is I don't like to be wined and dined. AI doesn't do a very good job at that. I don't feel like it talks to me wine and dining wise. I think the cool part is like setting up your prompts. I think that's the word you use is telling it how to speak to people. I think is a huge benefit in kind of a league of other business owners that I'm in is how they talk to each other. And that personalization is crucial. But I think that if you're not careful, you can really AI yourself into a bad place in marketing. I've seen it. Matter of fact, I've gotten two today. Some of them are pretty ludicrous, and you can tell they're fake. So I think that in regards to like how we're facing each other and our customers are going to be really a big benefit. And AI already does that for us and saves us money. I think ChatGPT is like $20 a month. It has saved me at least 200,000 a year. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, right? So
Wow.
that's pretty cool.
That's incredible. Thank you for that. Wow. Dr. Corbin.
Yeah, I think there's two ways to approach personalization. There's personalization of our brands, as our company. I'm going to talk about personalization of the product. So what we're offering to the customer. And there's a lot out there. One in particular is, I think most companies have a website of some sort. Web traffic is up close to 600-700% since last year. So globally, people are using the internet more. So there's actually software out there that through AI makes, so the term landing page is a website has a dedicated site on the basic dedicated web page. You go there first, and then you go to kind of secondary sites from there. Well, there's this notion of bouncing, which is when someone who visits a website hits the landing page and leaves. This is terrible, right? This means you lost a customer, whatever you're trying to sell. Well, there's now AI that as soon as they land, it will actually reconfigure the landing page to suit this this consumer. And what it does, it actually uses web browsing history. So we all deposit what are called web cookies every time we use the web. Most people don't know how to disable them. So these web browsers know most about what you are, what you do, where you visited. And so these can actually develop basically a personalized landing page, and it's called landing page software for customers. So it makes them feel good. But I think a big thing to get to personalization is there's a lot out there. Sometimes the software conflict with each other. So back to, about 30 minutes ago, we talked about this massive landscape of all these tools. A lot of small business owners will buy, 5 or 6, and they actually start to disagree. They'll start to actually counteract each other, and it ends up making you look really bad as a professional, because customers will say, well, what is going on with this person? But in terms of privatization, which is the second part to your question, the best way to think about this is consumers now, their data privacy concerns have become elevated because mass media has focused on things like ChatGPT. I think the best thing to do is just be transparent. If you're collecting data from your customers, let them know what you're collecting. And another point is, if you're collecting data, let them know how they benefit from that data collection. Just be transparent. You shouldn't really be collecting data from customers unless you're equitably giving back to the customer. Customers now are much more literate, from millennials, Gen Zs, Gen Alphas. They know all about what's collected, what's not. To just be transparent about the data you collect, how you use it, and I think most people will be satisfied.
Fantastic. And Matthew.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to circle back to some of what Dr. Corbin said, and as well as William, as far as people don't want to be spoken to how you want to be spoken to. They want to be spoken to how they want to be spoken to. And that's how, being able to leverage things like ChatGPT, like Claude, to, whether it's emails, whether it's social media, whether it's web copy, right? Being able to leverage that technology to create content and create copy that speaks directly to your target audience as a business. So the way that, I speak to someone in, say, the home services or the trades is going to be different from the way that I speak to someone in accounting, is going to be different from someone in IT, is going to be different from a filmmaker, right? And being able to, when you're a marketing agency, when you're speaking to these different niches, and specifically if you're providing a service where you're creating the content that their customer base is going to be seeing and engaging with, you need to be able to know what's going to resonate with that audience set. And what AI has allowed us to do is previously there was a situation where if you were providing these services, you absolutely needed to be a hyper specialist in a given niche. And while that is still beneficial, and while having that experience really does still help, the ability to leverage AI solutions, you're able to call upon all of these different data points that are out there in a way that prior to ChatGPT and Claude and things like that, we weren't able to call upon. And it kind of mitigates the need for that hyper specialization as it once was.
Awesome. So we have about 5 more minutes, maybe a little bit longer. And there's I have so many questions. We don't have enough time. You guys are absolutely crushing it, and I wish I could know half of what you guys know. So one question I want to explore is, with all the options, and Dr. Corbin, you said there's over 1,000 different options that people have, a lot of different softwares. What's going to happen in the next, we'll say, 12 months with AI technology? What's the end game for maybe just a year out as far as AI development? And Dr. Corbin, if you'd like to maybe start this one off, I'd love to hear your answer on that, your insights.
Yeah, I think there's somewhat of a scale issue. It's unavoidable here because the large businesses are going to have access to those cutting edge, state of the art technologies. Just licenses alone get up between 6 digits for just a single license for a lot of these. But for that kind of smaller scale marketing in the small business owner, I think the biggest thing would be being able to really, we started with this, is target audience identification. So a lot of money is wasted in marketing with campaigns that just don't take off. You fail. So either you targeted the wrong people, what you used, so the channel you used was just wrong. You did email, but you should have did something else. What you said was wrong. And so really the name of the game now is going to be integration. So there's a lot of independent kind of independently operating softwares. Bigger companies, so for instance, Salesforce is a big company, big customer relation management, and they do other things, is integrating it all into one package. So maybe not in the next 12 months, but definitely within a decade, you're going to see basically one software in some sense that you pay a license for that does everything from, marketing email creation to managing customer concerns to prioritizing which customers' concerns are more important than others. So I think integration is the biggest thing. Right now, the best thing for people to do is, again, try to figure out where they need help most and figure out which tools or software attack that. Otherwise, you're going to just throw darts at a dartboard, right? And just try things and they don't work. And sometimes it causes you to, lose your business if you don't do well.
Awesome. Matthew.
Yeah, no, I mean, pretty much exactly what Dr. Corbin said as far as the name of the game is integration. And we look at the saying that the trend is your friend until the very end. And so what we're at now, I believe firmly, is the beginning, the tip of the iceberg of a new age of technological solutions that small business owners that like you don't need to be a tech expert to leverage AI. You don't need to be running Microsoft, running Apple to be able to leverage these tools in your business. And it's like events like these, listening to podcasts, reading up on the solutions that are available to you and what's going to move the needle in your business, I think is where people need to start. But I think before that happens, a lot of business owners need to get over that mental block of AI is scary, AI is Skynet, XYZ, because at the end of the day, we look at a lot of these LLMs and it's really just algorithms. And when you understand that it's only that the output is only as good as the input, and while for the most part we aren't seeing incredible movement in towards AGI as fast as say the mainstream narrative is proposing, understanding that is still out there. It's coming. It's just a matter of when. But a lot of that has to do with, again, just understanding the landscape, understanding what it is that we're dealing with, and not being afraid of it, but just asking the question of how can we leverage this in a ethical way? How can we, be on top of this so that way we don't lose grip on it? Basically, I think is where the focus needs to be.
Awesome. So I want to, because we only have a couple more minutes, I want to change the question a little bit. And for William and Jeff, name like the top 1 or 2 challenges small businesses are going to face implementing AI into their business, and how would you solve that? Jeff, do you want to?
Yeah, great question, and it sort of ties into Corbin's and Matthew's answers to your last question as well. And so essentially, integration is going to be a solution, but I think in the next 12 months, it's going to be a very overwhelming space. It already is, and people are getting like it's a bit of a wild west out there. There's no regulation around it all as well, and people are just going to get lost in the 1,000+ tools that are out there. And it's going to be people like us that are going to help them to navigate the pathway to getting to the end destination, which I can only call from Sucksville to Awesome Town. But yet also, I feel like another solution to this space is Facebook and Google and all that. They're already working in this space, and essentially it's creating that holistic, integrative, the metaverse, right? So they've already got consumer products coming out there with like the Ray-Ban glasses that are tapping into AI, and people are able to start looking at their lens, and they can be in a trivia question night, and the trivia question will come up and the answer's there. So that's, I believe, is where we're heading. But it's also, I think, while we get there, it's going to be a very overwhelming and a bit of a scary, daunting place until people start to see it become more mainstream.
Awesome. William.
I'm going to answer this in a unique way. And I'm actually going to say, I know you asked for some struggles, but I'm going to answer that and say that the next 12 months, I would wager, are going to be the easiest months for small business owners. And I'm going to say that in respects to, yes, all these other guys, your answers were 100% correct. And I say that because the technology that we're currently using now, and I'll talk about this more in a different panel, but have caught on to AI, and they are now building their own internal AI software inside the programs that we're already using. And so I think small business owners are going to find it easier, and as the next few months goes along, to start finding a place to start than they are at this current moment. 100%. I've seen it right now, and we're using it today.
Awesome. All right. I really appreciate everybody's input. The marketing panel here has been absolutely amazing. Definitely want to give you guys a round of applause. And I know we'll see a couple of you guys back in a little bit, but if you guys could exit the studio completely and come back when you're I guess the next panelist or next time you guys are on. We are full for room in the backstage here. But thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure having all of you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, guys.
All right. That was Sandy. That was absolutely amazing. I have a lot of homework to do after this. A lot of research.
I know. A lot of research for sure.
I didn't realize there were over 1,000 different softwares. I knew there were hundreds, but when I think it was Dr. Corbin said there was over 1,000 softwares already really focused on marketing, even maybe some business general software as well. That is astounding. That's amazing.
It is, because I'm wondering, are these companies purchasing the licensing rights to use the software, or are they being developed? That's kind of, and not that it really matters in my world, but are they being developed independently of each other?
Yeah, I think what it was Dr. Corbin might have alluded to was there's going to be roll-ups, going to be a lot of integrations like HubSpot, Salesforce. They will probably buy up some smaller companies and integrate those into their softwares in different pieces, right, different components, especially if they're publicly traded, where they have the money, they have the finance to be able to expand and do that. I want to take just a minute and go back to, we have some good audience here. If you guys are watching this, please help us out. Share the live stream to your socials. Let's mess with the social algorithms for a minute. And the more shares we get, it'll mess with the algorithms and they'll push that up so other people can benefit from the information that's being shared here today. We have still just an amazing lineup coming. And we have a next up coming up in just a few minutes is Aoife. Can't wait to hear the wisdom that she imparts with AI. She has been working with AI for a long time. And I know, Sandy, you at one point had interviewed her on the LA Tribune's podcast network, an event that you guys did a few months ago. And
yes,
she is backstage. Yes. I'm going to bring her on.
She's amazing. Yeah, Aoife is amazing. Not only have I had the pleasure, hello, my love.
Hey, how are you?
Aoife, and I always laugh that when I see your name, I'd never seen your name before. Now that I know you so well, I see your name not you, but like other people, right?
Yeah.
So funny. But so Aoife and I, we've spent a lot of time together at conferences. She's been on my podcast. I've interviewed her in the LA Tribune, Quantum Leap 2024, and she is just a complete wealth of information, not only of AI but in LinkedIn as well. And you've found a way to merge the two. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I was listening. I have it posted to my socials, so that's a just gentle reminder, like you said, for everyone to share this to their social media, because the conversations are just super high level and super valuable. And we are in a time right now. I actually posted a clip of Mark Cuban recently talking. So there's two types of businesses: those who are embracing AI and those who are getting ready to go out of business. So by sharing this, we're really helping people to get educated, because there's a lot of fear out there right now. So that's what I love what you're doing here, Tom, as well, is really educating at a global level and an international level about why people need to be educated and informed on all things AI.
Yeah, we are. It's interesting. We have registered attendees from 8 different countries and speakers from 3 different countries. And it is when we first started putting this event together just 3 weeks ago, the response was absolutely amazing. There was so much, so many folks that said, "Hey, I need that. I don't know enough. I'm fearful." And so having all these amazing panelists and speakers come on and just freely give away information, their knowledge is so thank you so much for being here. I'd like for you to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you for that. So I founded a marketing agency about 4 years ago. I used to being corporate, used to do large scale tech transformational change. So I was always a tech person, but it moved into entrepreneurship and started a marketing agency. But when the whole AI revolution started, it was a very natural progression for me, even though it seemed like I was going a little bit backwards back into the tech world. But it was a very natural and easy progression for me to go back into the tech world. So we've co-founded a new AI company, which is called SuperDupe, which is, a lot of you, if you follow me on social, you'll see that people often don't know if it's me or is it my SuperDupe, because we create avatars that are essentially a digital double. So that's really where my focus of attention is on right now, is helping people, first of all, to understand what's happening in the AI space. Secondly, like the guys who are on the panel before me, what are the cost savings and efficiencies that you can create in your business? And then the third thing, which I'm very much focused on because it's something I have to work with all the time, how do I get back my time? Right? As an entrepreneur, the most valuable asset we have is time. We know we've got to be on all of the social media channels. We know we've got to be everywhere. But trying to do that, run the business and take care of life can be a big challenge. And I think what's happening with the AI revolution is that, when used correctly, it's a massive benefit to all areas of business. So that's what I spend a lot of time doing, is educating, teaching people about how they can use AIs, and then now teaching people how they can essentially create a digital double of themselves or a super dupe so that they can create their content online effortlessly.
Thank you for that, Aoife. So SuperDupe, I've seen the way this works, or I've seen your example. I think you did an example using Bill Walsh.
Yes.
Can you explain to the viewers and our audience, how does this work, and why? What are the benefits of having that? Like, why would I need to use that in my business?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what people say to me, why do I need a super dupe? So I'm like, a super dupe. So basically what we do with the platform is that with a 2-minute video, we can create a digital double of you, right? And that lives on the platform. Now, what that means is that you can go in at any time. We've built a scripting engine and a voice engine. And so let's say, Sandy, for you do a podcast, you think, okay, I looked really good that day. My lighting was on point. Everything, I just nailed it on that day. I wish I had more content on that day because I really nailed it on that day. What the platform is going to be able to do is create a digital double of yourself in that exact moment in time. Now, and then what you can do is you can feed that. So, for example, I did a podcast recently, and we created a double on the podcast. But there were certain things that I didn't describe, which would have made the podcast 10 times better had I actually put these things. So rather than me going, oh, I wish I'd had that, I just popped in, got my super dupe, wrote the script, and then the super dupe generated the video for the missing pieces of content that I was missing. And nobody noticed that there was parts of it that were AI generated and parts of it that were actually real. So what it enables you to do is massively create content at scale effortlessly. because you know what the narrative is. We sit down to record the content. We don't look right. The lighting's not right. Our hair is not right. Now, for the guys, it might be slightly different, but we're busy people, right? And it takes a lot of effort to sit down and record the content. But the other key thing that we do is with one click, we can convert your content into any language. We support 40 right now. We're also looking. So if any of you have a look at my Instagram, it's Aoife J. Rose. You can go and see the Spanish version of me delivering my content right now. I do not speak Spanish. Hola amigo is about as much as I've got. But if you watch the avatar video, so what this means, like for you with your podcast, we could launch your podcast in several different countries. We could create channels for you in multiple different languages. So it makes your content accessible to everyone internationally without you having to put any extra effort in.
I think
Well, that sounds amazing.
yeah, that is mind blowing. The world just shrank. It's no longer. That's amazing. What about the applications? Is that training videos that you can create? Is it customer facing videos? What kind of applications can you do with your avatars?
Yeah. So, and what we're really doing right now, we have a lot of use cases for people who want Facebook ads. So they know that they need to do videos in their Facebook ads, but they struggle with writing the scripts, crafting the copy. So we do all of the video editing and create the ads for them. That's one. Another one we have is the course creation. So imagine now all you need to do is, and we even have we have a scripting engine within the platform. So you can script all of your course, have your visual ready, and then just upload it. So you no longer have to record all of the course content. The avatar can deliver the course content for you. We have the corporate, so you could be putting out a course a week. You'll be putting out a course a day if you have a big enough team minding it for you. You can do a podcast a day. Like, just imagine the scalability of removing yourself from the equation and having a super dupe created for you. Training, corporate training is another one that we're getting quite a lot of. So helping them with corporate training, but also with being diverse and inclusive. So a lot of the trainings are just done in English, but a lot of the workforce is not just an English audience. So then they're able to convert their training videos into multiple different languages. So then if you have, you can have an English course, you could have a Spanish course, you can have a French course, but all of it is done on the generation of one video. So they're the kind of use cases that we have. We're building out a real estate one right now at the moment, which is super, where we're using an AI to scrape down the data from the MLS listing, and we're actually creating AI generated videos, which are actually of the real estate walking through the properties. We'll be the first ones to bring that to market. So they no longer have to worry about creating content either. So my goal really, and one of the biggest missions, is one that we can actually help content creators effortlessly create content at scale. Two, I want to help the introverted entrepreneurs who know they have to be on social media but don't want to be there. And three, I want to give people back their time.
Wow.
I love it. That's one of the hard. Well, I can sit here and talk forever in front of a camera because I've interviewed over 300 people on my podcast. When it comes to me actually creating video content for my courses or whatever, that's the thing that always trips me up. Mm-hmm. But my question for you, and I'm sure, I've heard other people discuss this, and I just like to hear what you have to say about it. How does the avatar, because there's no mistaking that, or maybe there is, this is my question, the organic reaction. I love having organic conversations, and I'm going to trip up on my words. I'm going to mispronounce people's names. Right? It's never going to be perfect. And that's okay, because that's my brand, is me being authentic, unapologetically authentic. How does the AI, because for people who have listened to all my shows, and all of a sudden I do one that's AI generated, are some of those little nuances going to be there? Or is it going to be too perfect, Sandy, which is how I don't want to show up?
Yeah. So what I say to people, I think everyone should do a hybrid. Like I say, if you look at my Instagram right now, and because before I used to always tell people, because obviously it's a product that we're selling, but now I don't tell people whether it's an avatar or not, and people don't know. So I think it's a hybrid, right? So on the days where I'm potentially not feeling myself or I don't want to do a video, then I can fall back on my super duper. My super duper will make sure I show up. Then on the days where I'm feeling myself and I'm feeling energized, then I can show up. I don't think, to be honest, the social media platforms don't like it anyway. Even LinkedIn is a whole new regulation coming in around it. They do not want you just to be AI generated content, whether that's scripted content, visual content, voice content. We don't want to remove the human element, right? Because that's where we're connecting. So it's like, how do we put structures in place where the AI supports us? So that, because look at, you have so many gifts to share with people and so many course ideas, but you already know there's a block there about getting the course recorded. And for that reason, that gets in your way. But if you put a super dupe in place, then the super dupe can create the course and how many people will you then be able to help, because you're getting a wider reach. So that's why I always want people to kind of think, this is not trying to replace human beings. That's not my motivation. My motivation is to help people to be able to maximize their impact, but without having maximum stress in their lives of trying to do it. Because let's be honest, right? Creating content is stressful. Showing up every day is stressful. Some days we don't want to show up. We don't feel like
I just don't want to be makeup and camera ready every day. Let's be real, girls, right?
I only need you once, 2-minute videos. I say to people, because every time I go into the podcast studio now, I create an avatar on the back of that podcast. I currently have 8 avatars and multiple variations of super dupes that are out there creating the content for me. So what one piece of content can turn into, like one 2-minute video can turn into 50 to 100 pieces of content.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, wow. I know that a lot of there's other softwares out there that generate avatars and talking avatars. The one constraint that I have found in this space is time limits. 2 minute, 1 minute. So does SuperDupe, are there any time constraints?
No. So what we've done now, we've put it up to 600 seconds at the moment, which is 10-minute videos. I don't think that, in my personal opinion, this is how I consume content, and I'm open to feedback from people as they get onboarded on the platform. When I'm watching a training or educational video, I kind of have about a 7-minute threshold, right? You know what I mean, of attention span, unless that you vary a lot of animated graphics and different things coming in. So I think I would rather consume bite-sized pieces of content where we're going long form, which are between my 5 to 8 minutes. And then my shorter form, I kind of like to consume between 60 to 90 seconds. So but we don't have any restrictions on the actual, we can put in, I know the founder, so I can have a word with them. So we can put in anything, but I recommend that people kind of stay within that 7-minute window so that people can consume your content, even course content. But I'd love to hear your opinion about how you consume the content. Do you think that's a reasonable time frame?
I think it depends on the usage. There are some videos that need to be longer for different usage, but like I said, if it's social media content, if it's on a training course, then you're going to have 1.5 minutes, 3 minutes, and maybe have 20 videos that are 1.5 minutes, 3 minutes long. So it's more digestible. They can stop, come back, and it's easily more manageable. But great response. I love that. And I think you're the only company I've come across, and I have done extensive research on this, that has 600 seconds or up to 10 minutes. That's amazing in of itself. What other technology can we stack or apply with the avatar to get like a 10x factor to make it that much more effective?
Well, even in what we built is, and I'm going to actually start hosting some actual live demos where I'm going to show. So what we've done is we've added in personality profiling, which is one, right? So the super dupe, so it's not just an avatar. An avatar is only the visual. The super dupe actually has a personality, and that personality can be taken from our personalities or we can actually call out to a website and pull down what we think the personality is. So we could read your actual personal branded website. What we have also adjusted, we put in the voice technology so you can adjust the tonation in the voice. So you may have one avatar visual, but you could have 20 super dupes. So one super dupe might be your TikTok super dupe, which is super energetic and ready to go. And one might be your course creation super dupe, which is more sort of flat and more balanced. So that's what we've done we've also built an inbuilt scripting engine. So we're stacking it. So now we've put in advanced scripting where you have roles and personas. So I can be like, I am a content marketer, and I can assume the persona of Neil Patel, Gary Vaynerchuk, any of these. We've actually pre-built them for the personas. I put a lot of thought into this. And we're also moving forward where we're going to allow people to integrate their AI agents. So if you've built an AI agent, you'll be able to API in your agent into the platform so that it already sounds like you, so it scripts. And then the last other part of technology, which we're now building as part of our V2, is we're going to put in an inbuilt video editing platform so that you can do it all in one. So you don't need to go out to your editors anymore. B-roll, we support captions right now, but we are going to be building an entire B-roll. So you imagine the likes of, you think of platforms like Submagic or Opus or these, but actually this is going to be a one-stop shop. You don't have to have multiple subscriptions. You only have to be on one platform.
Wow, I think you will very rapidly corner the market.
Well, that's the plan. So it's been a lot of work, for us to get, but I've really built a platform to solve my problems that I had, because I'm always out testing AIs. We test so many AIs on a daily basis and finding the problems and be like, oh, here's a problem. Okay, this works really well for the visual, but the scripting is terrible. This looks really good for that, but the voice isn't very good, or you know what I mean? And there's so many different aspects. So what I'm trying to do is help people collapse time so that you don't have to, we give you the one-stop shop for AI video content creation so that you don't have to go out and try to figure it out and have 5 different platforms to try to do your content. Because what I realized, people just won't do it. It's just too much work.
Yeah, that is amazing. Aoife, thank you so much. That was incredible. I'll be in touch. I want to know more about SuperDupe. But thank you for coming on and just sharing your wisdom and dropping gold nuggets about AI all over the place. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Before you go, what is the website for SuperDupe? Because I know that people had put, and if someone out there can put it in the chat, that would be great.
Yes, so it's I kept it nice and simple, www.superdupe.ai.
Perfect. And somebody said that was super duper. Thank you, Aoife.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys having me on. And this is an epic event. You're absolutely amazing, and you're really going to help so many people with this event. So that's absolutely amazing. Okay?
That's the goal. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, that was awesome.
All
So
right.
next up, we have the business panel coming on. Back end is going to be adding those folks to the stage. If you're watching this or just now joining us, this is the 2024 AI Symposium. Our number one goal is to educate the world, the globe, business community at large, and also create a community as well. So if you're seeing this, take 2 seconds, hit that share button on the live stream. And we definitely need your help getting the word out, because we don't have a $50,000 budget to run ads and promote awareness. We are counting on the audience, yourself, to share this event. And if you have questions, we all respond to questions in real time. So leave those comments in the social chat boxes. Well, business panel, welcome. Thank you for your time. And we have a pretty good sized panel here. So a lot of wisdom here. Why don't we kick things off? And if you guys could take a quick 30 seconds and let us know, introduce yourself and who you're with. Ava, do you want to kick things off for us? Welcome.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks, Tom. No pressure.
You're good.
My name is Ava, and I've always been in business. So I started out way back then, and started on some really large digital transformation project over $20 million. And I really loved the work. And then I moved to the Bay Area and just continued to do design thinking innovations, and then work with top organizations from international government like Canada. And I help organizations back then to integrate AI to help with customer insights, even 10 years ago or something. So I'm super excited to be here now. I am running my own management consulting company, and we're integrating AI into help small businesses and medium businesses to improve processes while making their customer and employees happy.
Awesome. Well, thank you. John.
Yeah, John, thanks for being here, or for letting me be here. John Ryan, CEO of Evolution Global. We are a software development company in the insurance space. We built a CMS called FileTrack. We've elevated that now to a new system called FileTrack Evolve. And we have a new social media platform for insurance called Conversation Insurance. Huge believer and fan of AI. We've been doing it both internally, externally, and in all of our integrations. So love being on this panel. Excited to have the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Flo, welcome.
Hi, good to see you guys. My name is Flo. I go by Flo 2.0. I own The Marketing Woman, and I build custom AI recruiting systems globally.
Awesome. It's very succinct. Welcome, Elena.
Hey, Lena Wilson here from Estimate Mastery. I train contractors how to use an estimating software called Xactimate so that they can be more profitable on their insurance-related jobs. And I am fascinated to be on this panel because in my world, in insurance, it moves like a dinosaur. So to even get them to be talking about AI, I was at an event with the maker of Xactimate. They actually had an AI panel there. So I'd love to share what they were talking about. But yeah, super excited to be here.
That's awesome. John Caudill.
Yeah, hey, thanks so much for having me, guys. I appreciate it. John Caudill out of San Antonio, Texas, CEO of Legacy Building Consultants. So basically, I'm also in the insurance world. We handle insurance claim disputes for insurance carriers and for business owners. And so AI is definitely a topic of discussion. If you hear me talking about it, I might sound like an advocate sometimes and a proponent other times. So it just really depends. On the situation. I'm here to learn and just I would describe myself more of an end user. We're not developing any software, but definitely can see its benefits in running a business.
Awesome. Thank you. Tobias, good to see you, sir.
Hey, good to see you. Thanks for having me today, Tom. Sandy, nice to see you. Thanks for helping put this together. My name is Tobias Patch. I'm the founder and CEO of Brelli. And I specialize in helping businesses, specifically claims professionals, weave tech and AI into the fabric of their business and transform themselves into superhumans with tech and AI in kind of creative, but most importantly, effective ways.
Awesome. And Mr. William Beliles.
Yeah, I'm William Beliles. I'm the founder and CEO of Genesis Solar Power and a secret hair model. So that's me.
How do we follow that up with a list of questions? Sandy?
I know, right? I know. There's so many questions that I know that the audience probably has with businesses. So, and thank you, Tom, for preparing some of these questions because it becomes a little overwhelming. So in looking at some of these questions that I'd like to ask, in what ways can AI contribute to better decision-making and predictive analytics rather for small businesses? Because there's so many data-driven decisions and forecasting that we can get into with running a small business. And then there's the analysis paralysis factor, which tends to trip me up all the time. So what are your takes on that? And I'm just going to kind of go around and start with Ava.
Yes. Well, thank you, Sandy. I feel like a superstar on the spot today, but no, I mean, to tell you the truth, I'm with you. I am more like an authentic person. So I can tell you from my background, helping organizations to improve processes, to go through their digital transformations. There are a lot of ways that AI can help. If you think about, for example, a healthcare company that you're helping. Recently I was helping a CEO to integrate AI into their existing IT system, and at first, it come with coaching, and we realized that actually, it was not. It was something that it's actually possible to do. So then we work with the architects, and then we created solutions that help even to save. We calculate even save. Even just 10 minutes a day, or 50% of the care manager can really help to bring, exponential profit per year, and increase the numbers of patients that we can serve by, 50 times or something like that. So that's one thing. And in so many cases, you can see that in operations, as companies grow, the system become bigger, and a lot of companies start to acquiring other companies, and then they have legacy systems. So how AI can help organizations to look at sometimes inventories in case of change management, and then can really have a better predictions of how much they can be thinking about buying inventories and stocking it, so that you can reduce waste. And there's so many other cases where you can also predict what type of items. How do we focus more on customer service? Even 10, 15 years ago, I was helping an AI company internationally, bringing them into the Bay Area. And we actually literally going into a retail store and talk with business owners and see how can we use AI to get a more customer-centric viewpoints to help them with understand their customers better.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sandy.
Oh yeah, and John.
Yeah,
John, you're
thanks.
up next.
Look, I love this question. I think that this is kind of the big ask that everybody's wondering about AI. Is it going to be able to give me all the answers? What can it do? I'm from the insurance space. So in our world, we are used to legacy data, like Ava said, that is old data that's been sitting there that does have value, but it's hard to get to. In the old world, we'd have to pull this data, clean it, purify it, everything else. You don't have to do that anymore. I think one of the nice things about AI, I mean, even at a low level, more commercial side, if you're talking about just chat GPT, is you can drop a document in right now and it can basically extract basic information out of it. But to take that a step further, and from a software development side for us, what I love is you don't need to put all the data in. And I know we're going to talk about privacy and other things, but you only need to put in the relevant data. AI is all about inputs and outputs. And if you put in the data that matters, you ask for it, what you're trying to get extract from it, it's pretty good out of the box with no effort to give you back what you need to know. And most often, we kind of find out it shows the obvious things that you're kind of avoiding looking at. What I love about the data side and the decision making is if you start making AI a part of your everyday, and you start realizing that a lot of the data that you may discard off to the side that's not important, drop it in anyway, let it look at it, dig into it. The feedback you get at a minimum creates kind of a thought-provoking exercise to say, hey, why am I ignoring this? What is this trend that we're starting to see? And kind of run with it. I think that's what's kind of cool about where we are with AI, is that you don't need to have software developers, and I've got them. You can do all this stuff right now, real time, drop a document. And in the insurance side, I love this with Alina. I love what she does, but you can take these estimates now, drop them in, have it pull back the data out of it. You can ask for it to go in and look at things. It's doing annotations now, so we're eliminating a lot of hallucinations. So there's a lot of capabilities that are out of the box today for data and decision making that I think everybody should be using early on.
Fantastic. Flo.
Sorry, Sandy, I have to say this. You sound like Brene Brown, and I could listen to you talk all day. So kudos to you.
Well, thank you. Listen to check out my podcast.
Yes, I'm definitely going to, because I could listen to you talk all day. So going back to the question, I'm going to speak specifically to recruiting. There are obviously thousands and thousands and millions, if not millions, of different implementations on how you can enhance decision making within your business. But I'm going to focus on the recruiting aspect, as I think that is my my expertise. So just to piggyback on what John said, the AI is able to analyze vast amounts of data for trends and patterns. We all know this. You can, take websites, documents, upload it, say, hey, give me the data. what I specifically like about, AI and enhancing decision making is that I can now predict a candidate's success, market trends, and financial forecasts, depending on the type of business, where the business is, the language. Because, like we said, we are moving away from just English speaking recruiting systems, English speaking recruiters. We're seeing tons of different types of people coming into the workforce, tons of different types of languages, tons of different types of needs for languages. So being able to use these systems to help make decisions, and not just in one language, but multiple languages, multiple cultures, definitely helps you bring in that diversity you need in your business in order to keep up, if not stay ahead of the curve, when it comes to, bringing in qualified individuals. And then aside from that, just being able to enable an informed and unbiased decision maker in the process, especially in the earlier stages of the recruiting pipeline. It's super important. I've seen companies who have these decision makers in place who they're so biased to the type of individual they want. They preach these are mission, vision, value statements, and this is what we're looking for. And I totally understand that you need to have a culture, but sometimes you're missing out on such a good candidate because you're not willing to go outside of your norm, right? And so being able to have this AI to help you with the screening, with, being able to determine if a candidate's good just based off of their mannerisms and tonality, not so much about, what they look like, where they're from, where they went to school, stuff like that. It's been able to absolutely change the game for some of these businesses. I want to primarily speak about, the 1099 realm. Like, so many people want to hire these 1099 commission based only sales reps, and they're looking for these certain qualities, but they're missing out on these other qualities that are aligning with these market trends in recruiting. And we've been able to bring in people who you never even thought would be successful in a 1099 role, and they are absolutely killing it. So I'm excited about, taking out the bias, automating the decision making on the front end, and bringing in more qualified and diversified candidates into the process.
Love it. I just left corporate America last October, and I was in recruiting for a few decades as well. So.
I feel your pain, sister.
Yeah. Elena.
Yeah, that's a really good use case flow. That's fantastic, because it's so hard to find good people. I just love everything you said. It was just so amazing. Just opening that opened my eyes a lot to, wow, I could be automating a lot of the stuff that I'm doing in my hiring process. That's really cool. So for me, my world, my jam is helping contractors get paid what they should and becoming highly profitable. So I'm going to kind of speak to that niche. But, in the old days of insurance, you would show up with your clipboard, you'd write your estimate out, right? You may take some photos that you would attach. Well, the adjusters come out and do the same thing, right? So there's all this duplication of data. I remember being at a conference, and they're like, this one home was built in 1945. After all this, the insurance paperwork that's been taken out, the claims, like the stack was like this high of paperwork. And you're going, oh my gosh. Now we can shorten all that to one file, one data point, or place that stores all that data, right? Instead of me going out and taking all the photos of the roof, well, the drone can do that now. The drone also is being programmed to auto detect damage. One of the most frustrating things for us in the roofing and exterior space, and even on the interior reconstruction, is it damaged or it's not? So the human's saying, well, my opinion is that AI is going to be very curious to see if it can get to the point where it's like, this is not an opinion, this is a fact. The drone flew the roof. It showed this much granular loss equals we have a roof replacement, right? Instead of us getting up there and haggling and having this contentious conversation, is this damage or not? It's going to take so much of that opinion out of it, which some people, again, think it's a good or bad thing. Well, we're going to see how it plays out, right? But there's so much to speak to, not only efficiency, but also taking a lot of the opinion or the contention out of the conversation in our world of even just making an insurance claim. Also handing a lot of power over to the homeowner, who really does own the claim. The policyholder is the person who owns the claim. We like to think the insurance companies do, but they don't. It's the person who makes the claim. So the more power we can give to them, like I said, I was at that conference where the tech conference for the people who make Xactimate. They want to get the homeowner going around and saying, oh, I have water damage, my sink leaked. taking those photos, those go to AI, they go, oh, that's water damage. We don't need to send an adjuster. It's a small loss. And then getting those funds into the bank account the day of the claim being made. That not only helps with customer retention for the insurance company, it also makes a lot more efficient process. And again, speaking to that, is it damage? Is it not? It's just fantastic. So anyways, those are my 3 cents on the subject.
Fantastic. John.
Yeah, well, hey, thanks, Alina. I feel a little that's very directly related to my day today. I was on a roof just a couple of hours ago, downtown San Antonio, on a church, and it was a disputed claim file. So I was out there trying to find some resolution for both the church and the insurance company, see if we could find some common ground and settle the claim. So AI, again, I'm an end user, so more administrative tasks, but I'm very interested in seeing technology. We've heard about drones for years. We're starting to see a little bit more application and potentially useful. If you get old school adjusters like myself, and I'm sure a couple of others, even on this call, that you just need boots on the ground. But we have to understand the world's changing, technology is changing. It's getting better at recognizing damage created from a weather events rather than something maybe installation related. Flo, I believe, had mentioned removing bias. I think that's essential. Especially in insurance claims. There's a lot of emotions. Anytime you're dealing with someone's home, someone's business, you're dealing with someone's money that ultimately gets paid out. There's a lot of emotion involved. So a lot of times these conversations between contractors and public adjusters and insurance carrier adjusters or independent adjusters, they tend to get heated and we sort of lose what we're out there for. Legacy is very interested in resolving claims quickly, and that way it's better for everyone involved. So I'm definitely interested in seeing AI enhance the inspection process, removing bias, and really getting down to the core of what insurance is supposed to be for, to identify the client. Pay no more, pay no less. And then we pay that, make someone whole and restore them to pre-loss condition and move on to the next. We're seeing a drastic increase right now in premiums. I'm sure everyone here knows insurance rates are through the roof. Insurance carriers are leaving pretty hot markets or pretty risk-heavy markets like Florida and California. And so if we can save money in the process, especially in this dispute realm that exists, I feel like a lot of that is going to go away, or it's at least going to be more tolerable for insurers to be able to insure those more risky geographic locations.
Removing bias. I love that. Because we humans, we're not always right.
That's right.
All right, Tobias.
We talk about removing bias. It's coming with me everywhere I go. No, just kidding. I'm going to take a slightly less technical approach to this question. I felt, John works in the insurance space and hit on this. Alina hit on this a little bit. There's a ton of data and information in the insurance claims process. And if you think about it, humans have never been under such a serious cognitive load as we are today. Like, our brains pretty much never shut off. And the mental fatigue that creates really seriously affects our ability to process information at peak levels. And so for me, AI has been a huge help in just widening my view on situations, almost instantly, and allowing me to do a ton of, heavy lifting without spending a ton of valuable energy. And that's helped, myself and everyone that I've helped integrate AI make better, more informed decisions a lot faster. And, just a simple question to AI after you give it a ton of data. Alina talked about stacks of data, that are miles high. Just a simple question to AI, like, what questions have I not asked that I should be thinking about, can unlock a treasure trove of things that you could be thinking about or things you could be asking that maybe you weren't even, paying any attention to. And so I think the opportunity to leverage AI to help people spend less energy but get more value out of kind of the waning amount of energy resources that our brains have today is where it's really going to be a huge help and huge effect for people.
Thank you, Tobias. Thank you so much. All right, William.
Can we make AI unmute me and remute me? That'd be great. Actually, before I get into my explanation, hearing you guys talk about the insurance side of this game I'm so glad I'm not in that side anymore. Thank you. I'll leave it to you, rock stars. But the cool thing for me is as a solar contractor, as a contractor myself, is I don't believe that AI is ever going to take out the need for our human analysis. But we can acknowledge certain facts, right? Data does not lie. It has no feelings. It does not benefit either way. My father used to say there are individuals that gather data and there are individuals that use data. What AI has allowed us to use, specifically, and I think a lot of people, is it's allowed us to limit how many individuals we need to gather the data. Compliance is a huge thing for me, and I think we all resonate heavy with that. In the solar industry and the roofing industry, we deal with ever-changing codes, permitting. Solar, we deal with utility companies that change the requirements, state licensing, and that takes a lot of time, effort, energy to research. AI has done a fantastic job at allowing us not to research that. But one thing specifically that I will say is in our proposal process, we use a technology now that builds out our design software, our electrical and structural stamping software that builds these designs and auto registers the codes and pulls them out and knows how to build them based off of that. So even our need to use, electrical and structural engineers, our internal ones have gone down, and now we just have a need for stamping. So now we just send it to somebody and pay a couple $100 to stamp it, then have a electrical engineer on staff, which, by the way, those guys don't work for minimum wage. So I will say that's how it's really changed, for us and how we can use it, now and how it's going to, forever change.
Wow, very interesting. And I know that there's been a lot of discussion about, will AI, hurt our workforce? And hearing some experts, and actually I was listening to a podcast and the founder of ChatGPT was on. It was on Joe Rogan. I can't remember his name. And it was an interesting statistic. And I'm only throwing this out there because I don't want anybody to start feeling like, oh no. What they didn't realize is that it's taking over the creativity aspect of what businesses do, meaning writing content, putting out newsletters, blogs. And the trend was that it was going to take even longer to actually replace humans because it's still not there. So we just, if you were all wondering, Tom, his internet went down. So hopefully he'll be back shortly. He was concerned. I'm like, we got this. The show's still going on. And so we're all good. You all covered so much information there. And I really think it would be great to touch on, because we have about 8 minutes left on this panel. I would love to hear, and again, we're a little bit rearranged because when someone drops out and comes back in, it all moves.
Sorry.
Oh, no big deal, Flo. No big deal. Hey, it's just because I'm going to forget like who went. So that's why I do it that way.
I did it on purpose so I would go last.
I'll be right back.
I was kidding.
Strategy, right?
By the way, founder of ChatGPT, Sam Altman. Shout out.
Sam Altman. Thank you. Yeah. It was a really interesting conversation. I'm a podcaster, and truth be told, because I always show up unapologetically authentic, I really only listen to Joe Rogan. So
same.
Good for me. Now, I don't know. I just love his show. All right. So back to AI and this amazing panel. What advice can you give to the small business owner, entrepreneur, or, you don't have to be a business owner. You're just in a leadership role. You're an employee of a company. Doesn't matter. What is some advice that you can give for people to take that next step and start utilizing AI in their business, and maybe even throw out a brief story of another way that it's helped you? You can go either way with that. And Ava, you're on the top of my screen.
I got you. So first of all, there's, according to Westfield Research, if you really think about it, there 55% of organizations are planning to deploy some sort of AI in the next 12 months, and 20% have already deployed AI in some capacity. So if you really think about it, it's like the 75% of the organizations are thinking about AI. So for entrepreneurs, for business owners, it's so important to first to start educate yourself with AI and look at your team members and find a way to help them to get them the time in the workday so that they can really upskill themselves as well with AI. AI is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So it's important to really upskill your organizations so that they can really do the work for you, and with that, delegate and trust your team, help them to have the time to go and prepare for change by upskilling themselves. I have a lot more to say, but I'm going to give room for everyone. We have 8 minutes.
All right, thank you. And so Elena, you're next.
Yeah, I would say, because I work with small business owners every day and I know that we wear tons of hats and we're like, oh, AI, well, whatever. Go open a ChatGPT account. It's free and it will get your feet wet, get you started into how this machine learning, what it does, and just commit to using it like once a day. I had one of our people in our group was like, yeah, I used it to write a happy birthday poem for my wife last week. I was like, that's awesome. Like, start to think of the use cases not only in business, because it can write your customer service emails for you. It can, you can use tonality. So the more you use it, the better you're going to be at asking it questions. It's not a Google search. So the better you are at writing the prompts, which is what they call what you ask the question, the better off you're going to be to feed it the best information so you get the best answer. If you just say, I have 2 chicken breasts in the freezer, what should I have for dinner? It'll give you some recipes. But if you're like, actually, I have this little small grocery list, it'll build a menu for it. Like, it just, the better you get at asking questions, the better off you're going to be. So I say start using it now and start practicing and implementing it, and the better off you're going to be in just a year of having that experience.
Thank you, Elena. And we had a gentleman on our marketing panel earlier, and he was from Australia, and he said that ChatGPT helped save his marriage. And I was like, okay, next time we do this, we'll have a whole segment on relationships and how AI can help with that. So, Tobias.
Yeah, thanks, Sandy. Well, I'll keep it simple. I'd say text the number right up there in the corner, and I'll respond right now and start helping you with that. Well, technically, I won't respond. There's an AI for that. And then the second part is keep it simple, right? Simple scales, fancy fails. So don't think that you're going to bring AI into your business and it's going to handle everything for you, do everything for you. What you really want to do is find tasks that you can have AI leverage to put you in front of your customers more, put you in front of tasks that only a human can really do very well, and try to win back 5, 10, 15 hours a week of time for yourself and for the people on your team. So I'd say if you're interested and want to start developing tech and AI into your business, really start by trying to find ways just to get 5 hours a week per person in your business back, right? And look for any possible way that AI can help you with that. And the overall win that is for your business will kind of springboard you into the future of your company going into a digital space.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And John.
Yeah. Hey, well said, Tobias. And, I guess for leaders who have not yet implemented AI or have not messed around with it, I would say it's good. It's good to use. But don't, for me, it's utilizing it for more tedious tasks. Say taking a complicated spreadsheet or PDF that needs to be converted into a usable data file. In the insurance world, that's for Xactimate, that's called an ESX file. We don't have to put a 6-figure employee on something that's going to take them 4 hours. So look for things that might save you time and money. But I might go a little different route too and say, I think it's very easy to rely on AI for everything. And then you realize after a while you're talking to a machine. Don't forget that your employees are humans. AI can help you enhance what you're doing. It can be a tool for you to use to help you get to where you're trying to go. But it won't find your why for you. It won't explain why you're in business, why you're doing what you're doing. That's what you're doing and leading your team. So I just want to just emphasize we still need to be compassionate and empathetic with our human employees and our colleagues, and because I told you before, I'm an advocate and cautious as well as far as implementing AI. That's one of my biggest concerns, is that we're going to lose the human element. So just don't forget that your employees, whether they're adjusters or marketing reps or whatever they might be, they're still humans. So let's not lose that in the mix of all this.
Excellent point, John. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. And John.
Yeah, I love what everybody's saying. I'll kind of follow up with what John's saying. I actually agree with it. I think one of the things that we realized pretty early on about AI was it was not going to replace anybody. It was going to make the people we had even better. We had already done the legwork to hire great employees. We had phenomenal young teams, some experienced veterans. But the one thing I don't think I counted on that we had to do is create a culture of AI, which was really to encourage everybody to find something really comfortable and simple to get into with AI and play with it. Developers maybe using Copilot to start with, just getting everybody a free AI account at OpenAI. Then we moved to a paid account, and then we went to the enterprise account, and then we went to the API. But what we discovered was interesting is that the simple task, which is the biggest issue in insurance, and I think it's really the kind of the crux of the problem in insurance, is in communication. And it's the one area that we're most human, but also most flawed. And what I love about AI that we've been experimenting with and we see the most is it takes the human element of great communication with the accuracy element of artificial intelligence and combines the two. And we have seen people be able to go in, drop in the facts they had, communicate kind of the way they want to say it, and then spit out communication that was just far greater than what we thought. And with that came the follow-up that I think is the most interesting one for me with AI. And I recommend this for all small businesses, is employees started enjoying it more. And they put more effort into communication, where communication had just become another staple of check the box, I sent the email. Check the box, I told them what I needed to do. And that communication got better responses back, and it started a cycle. We started seeing internal communication grow, departments talking better, out external people. Then we started giving it into our products for our customers, and we started getting feedback. Wow, now I can get a better estimate statement, or a general loss report is got more information in it. Everything started kind of getting elevated. And I think that's what's so important, is that if you as a small business are looking at this saying, I want AI to replace X, you're probably wrong. If you're looking at, I've got great people and I want AI to make them better, I think that's the home run. And it's actually really easy, low cost, and you can do it out of the box today. And I will say, I think everybody should be trying AI at every level of your life at some level, not to replace something, but experiment. It's cheap. It's easy to do. It's got incredible opportunities ahead of people for productivity. And a lot of the heavy lifting is being done by the big companies. So a lot of us now can come in and try things that are free, that are low cost, and really get a lot of benefit from it. So I love what AI is doing.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Williams, we're a little over time, but it's okay because it's just me here. So I figured we'll use a couple of extra minutes here since Tom's not back. So William.
That's cool, because I'll be fast. My biggest thing as a contractor that I would really, definitely dive in and touch on is, and I spoke on this in the marketing panel, you can get overwhelmed really quick by the number of programs that AI brings out to you. And if you type in AI program into Google, you're going to want to click the X button as fast as you typed it in, because the names and everything is overwhelming. The biggest thing that I would say to like my contractor buddies that thought AI was Skynet and Terminator and the end of the world in the next 30 days, like I did 6, 7, 8 months ago, is take a look at your own internal systems that are working right now. Like that's a big thing for us. That was when I got into it, people were reaching out to me. I looked in and said, let me look at every system that we implement currently, and let's see what they use for AI. Our profitability has increased, and I have a figure here at 31%, just by eliminating human error through AI. You will never be able to defeat, and I'm a big believer of this, good old-fashioned human intuition. But AI will allow you to gather the data to make the individuals that make decisions better, more accurate, more effective, and a whole lot more efficient. You can do more with technology. And as most people have said, and I mentioned in the last meeting, $20 a month and some of our systems, let's say we spend maybe $250 a month in total AI systems, has saved us almost $250,000 a year.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And Flo.
Okay. So super, super, super important. training employees to work alongside AI systems and partnering with AI experts. Super, super, super important. Whether it's in recruiting, marketing, business development, sales, it doesn't matter. You have to train your employees to work alongside AI. And I'm actually reading some of the comments. Somebody said, I also know a lot of people who worry about AI replacing jobs. Now, although that might necessarily be true because my systems have cut, 70% of recruiting costs, some of those costs have been allocated to, unnecessary labor costs, but AI is not going to replace people, but people who know how to utilize AI is going to replace other people. Simple. And these businesses, they're all looking for efficiency and they want to keep the human factor in, and that's super important. But we have the beauty of living in the United States is we have the freedom still to search the web and find all of this information, and now we just have an extra resource that allows us to do it even more efficiently. And just to touch on it, I know that we went over a little bit, but you're by yourself right now, and you did ask us to share a story. And if my mom's watching, hi mom, by the way, she could share these screenshots with you from 2019, but I had the honor of being part of a lot of beta versions of the language learning models, ChatGPT being one of them. I started playing around with language learning models in late 2019. Back in 2019, little Miss Flo was making $60,000 a year, hating her life, working 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., recruiting for a firm that just did not value her. And I started playing with ChatGPT and a couple other language learning models. And I started getting some news of a, respiratory virus that was spreading overseas. So I started helping it. I asked it to help me assess, what was the probability and the likelihood of it spreading, how quickly could we determine the effects that it would have, on the US and market, the economy, on different, micro and macro levels. And within 2 weeks of me playing with these language learning models, I called my mom. I said, Mom, I quit my job. I could barely afford to pay my bills. I said, Mom, I quit my job. I'm coming back home. And I was 23, 24 years old, coming back home. Mom was like super confused, but super excited at the same time because she's my bestie. And I started playing around with language learning models. And while everybody was, baking bread and trying to find toilet paper, I was learning how to use AI. And, a couple years later, I'm now making what I made in a year in half a month. And so, guys, the opportunity is there. And if you don't necessarily want to use AI yourself, surround yourself with people who use AI. It's kind of like that thing where they say, if you want to be a millionaire, sit at a table full of millionaires. If there's 5 millionaires at the table, you'll probably be millionaire number 6. Same thing with AI. Surround yourself with people who know AI, who utilize AI, who are passionate about AI. I'm happy that, I'm going to have the opportunity to release my website officially because I've, all of my clients have come to me through word of mouth. I have a wait list, and every time somebody comes to me for help, I don't have somewhere to direct them, and I'll be able to, direct them to a website now that hopefully helps them. But there's so many people on this call. There's so many people all over who can help you with AI, depending on what you're looking for, and use those people. Use those people. It's going to help you.
Thank you so much. Tom is back. And thank you to this panel. You guys were incredible. And I guess if we can have everybody step down and we'll bring on our next speaker. Happy you're back, Tom.
Yes, thank you. And I really like what Flo had to say about community. And one of the goals of this symposium is to create that community. We do have a Facebook community that we have created, and we will refine that. And the goal is to help educate people. A rising tide raises all ships. I believe this symposium, as we go through one symposium per quarter, this will help get the word out, help reduce and draw down some of that fear and anxiety that people face. And it will help people open up to the possibilities that they can utilize artificial intelligence. It doesn't take a computer science degree, and it will open up some opportunity. One of the folks, I guess next up is Nick Newhouse. Let me bring him on to the. Hello, Nick.
Hey, Tom.
Welcome.
Good to see you. Hey, Sandy.
I am excited. This is if you are watching from the beginning, we mentioned a guest that is able to help show us how to write artificial intelligence code and program. And I think Nick is going to show us that. But you could start off maybe telling us a little bit about yourself. Maybe give 30, 45 seconds of who you are and what your company is and what you do, and then we'll get into some Q&A.
Sure. Yeah. Well, my background is all marketing. Been doing marketing since college. Been self-employed in different formats for many of those years. So right now, my full-time gig is I run a business called Business Video School. I'm one of the co-founders as well. And we primarily teach people how to use video. I got into using AI as part of that because we started to explore how to build custom AI tools for our students to write scripts and generate images for their videos. And that's kind of how I landed on this idea. I realized, making these AI tools was a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be. I don't know how to write code, and I was able to actually use ChatGPT to write it. So that was pretty cool. And so, yeah, I've been sort of experimenting ever since with making these, I call them AI lead magnets. So just really simple AI tools that attract customers, right? By basically helping them along their customer journey in a very personalized manner. So I'm hoping to share some of that today.
Well, I have to say that I hold you in high regard. You're a whole lot smarter than I am. I've toyed with the AI and programming, and it is way over my head. But I think you're going to show us how anybody can do that, and I'm really excited. So I'll turn the floor over to you. Take a few minutes and walk us through how to program AI software.
Yeah, so let me see if I can get this to work. I recorded a 1-minute video. It's a minute and 6 seconds, but it'll be really helpful just to see this quick demo if you don't mind. Let me see if I think this will load. Let me try. Yeah. So here it is. And I think you may have to, as the host, add that to the stream down there if you can. What you're watching right now is about 6-7 minutes of work. So first, we're here on Hugging Face. We've got this existing AI tool. It's called a Neighborhood Matchmaker. We're going to make a new one from this tool that actually suggests marketing strategies instead. So all we really do here is we create a copy of this space on Hugging Face. We're going to go into the back end and copy the code. Again, you don't need to follow all this too closely. Just get an idea of kind of how this process works. So we're copying this existing code. We're going over to ChatGPT, giving it a simple prompt. This is like 4 or 5 total sentences to kind of prime it. Then we give it the code as an example. We tell it what the new tool should do, and then it responds with that code. This is written in Python. And what's really crazy here is you're going to watch me copy that code, go back to Hugging Face, simply paste it in, hit save, and then here we go. We got an entirely new tool that's been created from scratch that now recommends customized marketing strategies. And it took about 6 minutes, and I never had to write any of the code. And that's really how easy this can be. So that's about a minute overview. It's about 7 minutes of work, right? So that's a little misleading. It does take a full 7 minutes to go through that process.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, this to me. So I understand. Obviously, somebody's going to see that, and a lot of folks are like, that's still too confusing, too much to do there. But it's only going to get easier. I mean, that's what's kind of wild to me is that this is the kind of stuff that I've always just sort of dreamed of. Man, once I have a tool that can just sort of write code for me, there's so many different things I'd like to try. And now not only can you do that, but you can then incorporate AI into the back end of that tool as well. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's my main point here, and I'll elaborate obviously as we chat. But I think the main point is just try things. Just get in there and push the envelope a little bit, and then ask yourself, if I had access to magic right now, so to speak, like what would I make? What would I do? What are things that I've never tried but I've wanted to? And I think it opens that up for you.
So there have been, I think huggingface.co, I think was the website you had mentioned. And I just read before we started the event, there's another something similar. And I think the trend in the next 6 months to a year out is going to be more and more websites that allow the common user, maybe not someone that's not a techie, to be able to write code and test it and apply it. what you did is just absolutely amazing. How should a business owner, maybe someone that is knows a little bit of something, but how do someone like myself, how would I apply that? How would I go through and pick a model, and where do I start?
Yeah, so the cool thing, first of all, just go to huggingface.co. I love some of the business names out there, huggingface.co, and just check it out. I mean, that platform is just a myriad of experimental tools. That's really what it's for. It's kind of just it's an experimentation platform. So you'll even see like Meta has released some tools on there, right? So even the biggest companies in the world are using this thing, but all the way down to like students in school learning to use it. And so they're all making their own tools. They do drastically different things. I mean, every day there's new ideas out there. A lot of them don't work, right? Because again, they're trying and experimenting. So don't get frustrated if a couple of them don't ever actually produce any results. But you can find my profile. Just search for Nick Niehaus if you want to find the tools I've built. And what's cool is that you can just duplicate them. So all you really need to do is you just duplicate it. You copy in your own key from OpenAI, so you're using your own API key. And you can literally just copy them. I mean, you could just go to that extent, make your own copy. But then if you want to make a new tool, you just really need to describe it, right? I mean, I think that's the key there is you take the code that's existing from a Hugging Face and you give it to ChatGPT. And I'll say this is the most important part. The initial prompt is how you set it up for success, right? So you want to first of all tell it, I'm going to give you some example code, right? In fact, if anybody wants to reach out to me, I'll just send you a copy of the prompt. But just to summarize it, I'm going to give you some example code. I'm going to describe a new tool I want you to make based on this code, right? So you're just going to use this code and then make the tool based on it. And then the important part is do not change any part of this code that is not necessary to change, because it will just go in there and start messing with stuff, and all of a sudden the tool won't work. But as long as you say those things and then you say, okay, then you describe the tool, right? So in my case, I said, I want you to make a tool that comes with marketing ideas based on what the business is and its ideal customer. And then here's the code, and then just hit enter. I mean, that's really that simple. And then it's going to give you its best version as a response.
So you said a sample prompt. If you are able to send me that sample prompt as we can create the community, we can disseminate that information out to the folks who could use it. Maybe even that sample video to help illustrate exactly what you're talking about. Because doing it on condensing 7 minutes worth of work, which you did beautifully in about 1 minute and 6 seconds, that was really fast. But the principle being there is absolutely amazing. And if I understand it right, are you able to instruct ChatGPT how or what kind of code to put in there, like marketing and direct chat? Is that what ChatGPT is? That the role that ChatGPT plays?
Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, that's what I think is so exciting here is that you don't have to. You just have to tell it what you want the eventual tool to do, right? So I wasn't going in and saying like insert this type of code or any of that. I'm just literally saying, and this is where the example code's so important, right? If I don't give it an example set of code, it's going to be much more, creative, right? Which we don't really want it to be. So I think that part is probably essential, at least for today. But as long as you have the sample code, and then again, the key is to tell it, don't change anything you don't need to change. Those sort of two parameters, then you just describe what you want, right? Now, this is, keep in mind, like it's going to use the format of the existing tool. So the current format was I just have some boxes that they're kind of describing their ideal neighborhood or some inputs, right? It's going to be similar in that sense, right? So if you want something that's more of a chat bot, or if you want to generate images, you're going to want to find a base tool that's closer to that. So I think think about that as you're sort of searching for that initial tool, but that's it. I mean, the rest is just describing. And then I'll give you one additional step. Keep talking to it, right? I mean, that's what's cool about this stuff is that you're just talking to it like an employee. So if it does something you don't like or comes back with a version that doesn't quite work the way you want it to, you just explain what it did wrong. A lot of times it's going to apologize to you, which is kind of funny. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. And then it makes you the right tool, and just keep chatting, right? It'll get you there eventually.
Okay. So let me ask you a question, because when you take that code, you input it back into huggingface.co. Is that where that code lives, or do you have to host it on a website?
Well, it will stay on Hugging Face, and there's lots of places you can host these tools. I mean, because again, you're basically just hosting a small piece of Python code. One of the cool things about these AI tools, most of the work is done inside of the AI platform. In this case, OpenAI, same as ChatGPT. So but the tool itself is hosted on Hugging Face, and it's embeddable. And I think that's what's also really cool is you can take it and you can put it on your website, right? So this is where we're going with this, right? So I mean, I think that's the real powerful thing. Google and these search engines, they're going to really prioritize websites where people spend a lot of time, that are interactive. Like the more interactive your website is, the more people are going to come to it, the higher it's going to rank in search. All those sorts of marketing benefits. So I think that's what we want people to try here, right? Is put a tool on your site, and then just tell everybody you possibly can, right? Because right now you're in a kind of window where you can be the first business of your kind in your industry, in your area, to offer this sort of personalized experience on your website. That should be a major differentiator and an advantage. So I think that's what you want to think about, right? Is what's something I could put on my site? It's going to help people, earlier in their buying decision making, right? So something's that's why we had a neighborhood matchmaker for real estate agents, or like marketing idea generator for a marketing firm. You want to help them sort of early in the process, get that curiosity sparked, give them that kind of unique experience, and then they're going to go, oh wow, this company's really got something special. I want to talk to them further. That's kind of the idea.
Awesome. So that is one tool, and that as you've proven it to be very effective. What other tools, what other pieces of software would you recommend a small business owner implement, and they can do it cost effectively?
Well, so if you go about this, right, you're going to want to you need a landing page. So that could be honestly, just a blog post on your site. I think the only other thing you need to have there is a form that people can fill out, right? So I think that's the other part, is that you have the tool. I would recommend a video at the top of that page, and in that case, you may need a tool to embed the video. The one I use is called Vidyard. It's actually a video messaging tool, but it can also be used to embed videos. So we got that at the top. Then we got the tool, the AI tool we just built in the middle. The video is going to show them how to use it. And then the most important part is going to say, look, AI is not perfect. You're not always going to get a 100% accurate answer. And it's also just going to get things started. We need to then take it from there, right? So what I want you to do next is, once you get your response, go to the bottom of the page and fill the form out, right? So that's the last component, is that form. I think that just needs to integrate into your CRM. So whatever you're using currently is fine. Almost all CRM platforms are going to have forms. Now they're in your CRM, and now you do what you want with them, right? So I think like a set of emails that are triggered, like an email drip campaign automation. If you get their phone number, give them a call, or you can shoot them a text with a video message, something like that. Obviously, I'm a big video guy, so a lot of this stuff always incorporates video. But that's about it, right? And then I think it's just about putting it in front of people, just telling them it exists. So there's lots of ways to do that too.
That's amazing. What is, in your opinion, where do you think AI is going to be going to in the next 12 months?
Oh man, I think I was listening earlier. I mean, I think a lot of the ideas from earlier make a lot of sense. We will see consolidation. I do think that's going to happen, where these tools are going to become kind of more powerful. But this direction, I mean, this is just my bias because this is the area I'm working, right? But I do think that we, in the next 12 months, I'll see how far we get down this path. It's changing as faster than I even thought possible. So we might start to see these tools where you just talk to them and boom, you've got a tool on the other end, right? I think that was the CEO of NVIDIA the other day was talking about the idea that getting into learning to code right now might be one of the worst things you can do, because AI is eliminating that barrier, right? So instead of having to know how to write the code, you need the idea. So now it's becoming like, hey, we're all going to be coders. Now it's about having the idea and knowing how to market it and kind of the other parts of the business model. But I think in a lot of ways, that's where we're going, is sort of reducing the friction between humans and technology, right? So instead of having to know what buttons to click in what order in order to get the outcome you're looking for, we're going towards a future where you're just going to talk to things and you're going to get what you want, And I just saw OpenAI just announced they're making video now, right? I mean, that was a few weeks ago. So, the one I've always thought would be really cool is just this place. I don't know if we'll get there in 12 months. I want to give it a few years, but this idea where you could just describe a movie and it will generate it for you, right? So if we've all had those dreams of like, oh, it'd be cool to have this movie set in this scene and blah, 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 mix these 3 stories into one, whatever. And that's going to be possible, eventually, right? We're not quite there. So I think that's the way to think about it, is think about these sort of holistic systems. Right now, we're just sort of in the sandbox experimenting, I think.
Yeah. So I was talking to one of our future upcoming speakers a couple weeks ago, and I was asking him, I said, I felt like we are with AI where the internet was back in 1999. And this person is at a really high level, is really connected within the artificial intelligence software world. And he says, no, he goes, we are actually in 1995 in terms of the amount of advancements we still have yet to go. No, it won't take 4 years to get there, but it might be 2 years. But you look at what Sora, I think that was the Chat GPT's OpenAI's video, generative video module there was. And you look at the examples where we were 12 months ago, where look kind of like clay figures, to today, it was seamless, ultra realistic images. It is so in 12 months time, it's going to look completely different.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. It really is.
So I want to leave a last question, and it's very open ended. What is that one piece of advice you would give to a small business owner that is, or even just anybody that's looking to explore AI and how they can utilize it best? Where should they start?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, to me, it's about the customer. I think a lot of folks start thinking of themselves. So how can I save time? Which it definitely can. How can I make more money? Definitely can, right? But I encourage businesses to think about the customer, right? Like, how can you give them a more personalized experience, more customized experience, right? Like that's I think what AI does for us. It allows us to give a completely unique experience to every single person we work with. And the companies that do that first are going to reap a massive PR benefit, right? I mean, they're going to be seen as completely different from their competitors, even if your services are incredibly similar. So I think is, if I was, kind of getting started with this stuff myself, and that is what we did, right? We looked at it and said, okay, how can I give each of my students, because we used to write scripts, give everybody the same ones, we still do, but now we have AI tools as well, and they can get their own customized version of the script, right? So I think that's really the key here is what can you do to give your customers an even better experience?
Wow. Well, Nick, thank you so much for giving so freely of your information and your knowledge. Hopefully our audience will be able to take a small piece of what they've learned from you and apply it to their business, apply it to their personal life, and draw down and reduce some of that fear they have surrounding AI. So thank you so much. We're going to bring to the stage next the Chat GPT Midjourney, the generative AI program panel. And so, Nick, thank you again, sir. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Bye.
Bye. That was absolutely amazing. I'm going to go back and
Incredible.
watch that video. We can now program AI software, AI program. That is insane. You don't need a computer engineering degree to do that.
Yeah, well, fortunately, my husband is going to be retiring shortly because he's a computer engineer, because it sounds like his job may be obsolete in the near future, but maybe not.
Well, I want to take just a minute before we bring on the Chat GPT panel. If you're watching this, do us a favor. Share the live link to your socials. Maybe ask 2 or 3 people also to share their that link to their socials. We don't have a huge budget. This is everyone's giving freely of their time to put this event together for the betterment of and education of everybody. We are going to be creating a community and hosting another one of these, but it'll be, instead of a 4-hour event, it'll be a 2-day event. There's a QR code right there in the top right-hand corner. I would tag that. And then I think that's about all I have as far as promotional wise. I'm excited to get to the ChatGPT, Midjourney, Sora, the generative AI panel. I think it's going to be a really good panel. So let's go ahead and add the business panel here.
For sure. Because, there's so many different ways to use ChatGPT, and so it sounds like someone has some background. So if we can just ask the panel to mute themselves until you're called on, that would be really beneficial.
Sorry, Sandy, go ahead. What were you saying?
Oh, yeah. No, I was just saying, even before this call started, Tom and I were saying, he's like, oh, I think because my Chat GPT wasn't working, and that's happened a few times. And he was like, well, the prompt, sometimes you'll just ask it a question and it'll, within seconds. And then other times it just sits and I'm like, did I really just just, am I giving ChatGPT a run for its money and it doesn't know how to answer this question? But it's user error, right? Like that's on me. So go ahead, Tom.
I think that the key, we're getting ready to get into it pretty deep here, but I think the key for the generative language models is a very detailed, very descriptive prompt. So it used to be a prompt, a copywriter, a content writer, a ghostwriter. They are now becoming prompt engineers, and knowing how to write a prompt in such a way it produces the outcome that you want. But that's just scratching the surface. But I would like to go around the room here. Karen, Jamie, Stephanie, Jake, thank you so much for being with us. Why don't we open it up with giving you a chance to introduce yourselves, who you are, what your company is, and just say hello to everybody. Karen, why don't we start with you?
Thank you. So thankful to be here today. I'm an experiential speaker and coach. My background is marketing. One of the things that makes it so exciting about AI for me is the fact that it's just like it was 15 years ago when I started my marketing company. It was social media then, now it's AI. And so another one to get excited about. So that's where I come from.
Awesome. Jamie.
Yeah, thanks. Great to be here. My name's Jamie, the founder of Absolutely AI. We create visual content for businesses, specializing in generative AI tools. Fantastic position to be in. My background is in photography, and you talked a little bit about it in the last chat, but bringing the past experiences into your current AI niche or world is really fun to do. So yeah, I bring kind of photography, visual arts into the AI world.
Awesome. And you are speaking from
Australia.
Australia. That's awesome.
2 Aussies today. Nice.
Stephanie, welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Stephanie. I run at BAS LLC. We are a boutique construction company here in Texas. We are also live streaming to TikTok today to 30,000 followers plus. So that is why my setup looks a little different, because we've been live streaming all day taking questions. So I use AI every single day to make my life at work and as well as social media function. And I'm glad to be here. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. And Jake, welcome.
Hey, how you doing today, Tom? Good to see you, Sandy. I'm excited to be here with Karen, Stephanie, and Jamie today, especially Jamie. He's got just like the coolest voice. I'm sorry. That's just where that's going to go. I had to wear the hat just simply so Sandy knew who I was, and I had something to stand apart from Jamie. So I'm Jake Clendenning with CT Impact. We are a resource coaching consulting company and training company. We're building resources using AI and using a lot of tools for every business owner, entrepreneur, C-suite executive, and really trying to meet them where they're at so that they can effectively use all the tools that without having to become a prompt engineer, if you will.
Awesome. Hey, Sandy, you want to take the first question?
Absolutely. So I love hearing real life stories. I'm a podcaster, so I love hearing people tell their stories. And I'm just going to share a quick one of how it really helped me in my business. But so when I go around, I want to hear how you've used ChatGPT or another one to help you in your business. So I launched some products with my brand because I'm happiness. Everything's all about happiness for me. And I was creating my Etsy store, and I was like, how am I going to, I've never been in retail. How do I write a description? I was like, ChatGPT. And I went on there, and I tell you, within seconds, it was just so easy for me to have to sell a product, because that's not my niche. And I'm a solopreneur. I don't have the budget to just hire somebody for every little project that I'm starting. And it really took a lot of the anxiety out of launching products. And it's helping me to sell the products in the store, in a way that people can read and be like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds great. So that's my real life story. Karen, let's start with you. Give us a real life story of how it has helped you in your business.
Absolutely. Well, as a speaker, it's the perfect place to go to start my framework. I have a topic and then I decide my framework, come up with titles, ideas. It's unlimited.
Love it. Love it. Jamie, what about you?
Yeah, I use ChatGPT for a lot of things, very conversationally in whatever project. I'm a bit like you, Sandy, solopreneur, but any project I'm doing, just to have a conversation with it, I always start with that. But also Midjourney. I know this is a ChatGPT Midjourney kind of combo. Using Midjourney for everything. I mean, with my photography background, I originally found that, Midjourney was so good, so realistic at creating images. I thought it could fool people, win an actual award. So I actually won the first photography competition using an AI generated image at the start of last year, just to show we're at a bit of a turning point with AI and how realistic. And of course, we've seen how nuts and bananas it's got over the past year.
Great. Stephanie.
All right. Thank you. So I have actually been using ChatGPT for a long time. I found a ChatGPT through a friend of mine that was actually worked for Microsoft. And so she was posting a lot of stuff on Facebook when it first came out on how she was using it and whatnot. And so I was like, how are you doing this? And what are you doing? And so she kind of turned me on to it and walked me through it a little bit. I actually use ChatGPT every single day. Little side note. I had a traumatic brain injury last year from a car accident. And Tom can attest to this, is that I have moments where I forget words. It's right there. I know what I want to say. It's gone. ChatGPT, what am I trying to say? Like, what is this? I'll forget something that I should be. And I'll just be like, what is it? But I use it to write my emails sometimes. I deal with a lot of crucial conversation style type of emails. And so ChatGPT has really helped me elevate that and take the emotion out of what I'm trying to convey. And so I really like that aspect of it. I know a lot of people are be like, it takes, there's no personality to it. But for me, I have to have a lot of crucial conversations through email, and everybody knows people take emotion out of it all the time. So it's been a game changer there. A blog post has helped me. Social media, though. ChatGPT has skyrocketed my game when it comes to algorithms and social media content. And so I really like that aspect of it. It really pays attention to the trends. It has helped me get in front of crowds and people that I wasn't really touching before because of the algorithm base of that nature. And so finding the perfect hashtags, or what are we trending towards, or what are we doing, that's really helped my business. And so I've utilized it that way. And I enjoy it.
Fantastic. Jake, and thank you for wearing your hat. You're just not the same when you're not wearing it.
It's just not the same. I know. I just don't show up the same way. So the consistency that I saw from Karen, Jamie, and Stephanie is it's like the +1 tool. Like it's that I need an answer to this question. And the one thing that I figured out, and Jamie said this, is be very conversational with it. Just be very conversational. It's not about being a prompt engineer where you've got to write this something really, really complicated. It's about asking better questions to get the answer you're really looking for. One of the things I found was true during, and I'll tell you the story, was the most important thing I could ask it was, do you understand the response? Or do you understand the request? Because then it'll spit out what it is. If that's not the answer I'm looking for, I asked it the wrong question. So it makes me get better at asking questions overall, so I get the right answer. Once I get to the right iteration that it understands the response, then I ask it to do the thing. Because if I ask it the wrong question, it's going to give me the wrong answer. That's how that's going to go. I used it. So I recently finished a book. I've written 2 books now. This is the first book that I wrote. It's called Rings of Impact. I used it as an editor that I went into. So what I was doing is I'd go in and I'd work on just put it out on the page, get it all written, just write. And then I'd plug it back into ChatGPT, copy and paste, and say, I want you to edit this for spelling, grammar, sentence structure, flow, make any recommendations in italics, and put that at the bottom. And it would go through this huge editorial process that would take me forever to do on my own. And it would still be wrong, to where it would just spit it back out and go, here's where you made all these mistakes. You put commas in all the wrong places, and it would just fix it for me. It'd make it nice and clean and be able to transition into my next thought. It saved me a mountain of money on editing. At the end, when I sent the whole book to the editor, he came back to me and he actually said, man, you wrote this really, really, really well. Like I didn't have a lot of work to do. And I went, yeah, I didn't do that. I had to ask for help from my assistant, and that's what I used it for.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. That's probably one of the best case uses I've seen. Actually, to tack onto that, Jake, about a year ago, I used ChatGPT to write a book about AI. I used AI to write a book about AI, and that was primarily just help me understand the foundations, the different type of AIs, just more of the foundational points, final points of AI. But to your point, it did that. Garbage in, garbage out, some really great points. I want to shift the conversation a little bit because you have Google Bard, Midjourney, ChatGPT, Claude. You have a bunch of different type of generative language programs out there, and would like to understand maybe some of the differences between them. And then a second part of that question. So first, the differences. And the second part is go into maybe some of the features, because a lot of what we've been talking about thus far is image generation, or you ask it a question and it spits out, but there's a whole lot more than just ask a question and get an answer. So Karen, would you mind kicking that off?
Sure. Now I'm kind of a purist, so I've stayed with ChatGPT for so much of it that's where I've invested most of my time. I've just started to wander out a little bit and try a few of the different ones. So I'm probably not the best one to answer that.
No worries. Jamie.
Yeah, one of the big updates that came with ChatGPT a few months ago now was the GPT store and actually making your own GPTs. And it's fantastic to do that because I'm actually working with a business now to create a negotiation type bot. So you can put in all these prompts and it remembers them in a structure that you'd like it to then build on. And then you can go back to your private GPT and use this app in however way you would. So you can set it up to have like all of the information there, and it's almost like your own personal kind of small language model that you can build on. That's something I'd encourage people to look at, the GPT store. You have to have the premium version of ChatGPT. So it's $30 a month or whatever it is. But yeah, I highly recommend people looking into that area.
Awesome. And for I guess Stephanie and Jake, if you aren't familiar with some of the differences, maybe identify some of the favorite features of what you currently use. Stephanie, differences?
So I actually use Chat on AI app, which I have found has a ton more features that utilize ChatGPT, and it's free. There are some add-ons that you can do, but for what I utilize it for business, Chat on AI is my game changer, and it's constantly updating. And so if you guys have not found that, I would find it. It's in the App Store, but it is, like I said, it does everything that I mentioned earlier as far as my social media, my responses, things like that. I'll use ChatGPT on the desktop, but Chat on AI for me has really been the game changer, and it's free. So
that's awesome. Jake.
So I noticed there's a huge difference. Like if we look at ChatGPT, like the difference between the free version and the slightly paid version is fairly profound. And if you test each one, you're going to get different results out of that. One of the cheats, and Nick totally gave it to us as he was speaking, which I'm going to go back and watch that. I mean, the stuff that he was doing, because like I'm doing that to a degree, but he made it look so accessible to what everybody was doing within the writing. But I'm using the same thing as a trick. Is I will have ChatGPT write the prompts for my ChatGPT. I'll have it build the bots out for me. I'll have it build the prompting out for me so that it'll build the framework out for me. I'll have it do the exact same thing when I go to write the generative AI over on, if I'm going to do an image, right? I haven't used the video content as much. Like Effie was super dupe. Like if you're going to go for video, just hire her and let her do it. It's amazing. I watched her again. I always love listening to what she's doing because she's just being so disruptive. But anytime that I need it to do something, I ask it to write the prompt. how would you write the prompt if you wanted it to do this, this, and this? Do you understand the request? It'll create the prompt, and then it'll start a whole new prompt chain with that particular piece. And then I can follow the chain. I can go back and I can grab it and say, based on the previous thing, I want you to do this, or plus one it, or add on. And the reason we do that is, again, and who said it? Oh, Effie said that earlier. If you got 5 platforms you need to do a thing on and you need to work on, you're likely not to do it. You're just likely not going to do it. So, and that's true of me too. So I've got 2 that I use. I use literally an image generator, and I'm using ChatGPT, but I'm building what I want. I'm basically building bots and bolt-ons using ChatGPT to make it do what I want it to do.
Awesome. And real quick, Stephanie, would you mind repeating the app? We had a few comments on social media asking what that app was.
Sure. It's Chat on AI. Chat on AI.
Stephanie? Looks like, did I download the right one?
Yeah, that's it. I'm glad you came back to me because I wanted to touch base on something Jake said, but I mentioned this Reclaim AI. I'm not sure if you guys know about it, but for your own personal scheduling, to-do lists, and keep you on task and on target, Reclaim is great right now. I hope it progresses and does better. I hope they keep adding to it, but for right now, it is really great as well for business owners.
What is that tool? Reclaim AI?
Reclaim. So basically, it's an integration for your calendar. So you can task things, prioritize them, and it'll basically watch your calendar. And so it'll put it in spots, like it'll work with your calendar and how you set it up, like for appointments and stuff. And it'll find spaces to put the tasks that you need to do with the time that you have allotted for that. And if you don't get to it and check it off, it'll just bump it back to the next available spot. And so you can have as many tasks as you want, and it'll just keep reorganizing them in there for you until you say, okay, I've gotten it done. And so it just, for somebody like me that runs a very busy life, that is a game changer for me, and it saves my life. It just really saves me so much time.
Can you spell it?
It's RECLAIM, Reclaim. That does not have a smartphone application yet. That is just
I was going to say, yeah. Okay.
I've been hoping for it because I would really like that task list on my phone. That's why I said it's in its infancy right now. However, it really is a great product, and how it integrates with Google Calendar right now is really great. Don't even get me started talking about integrations, because there are so many that I'm just manifesting on a daily basis with how I run my life. So I'm praying to the integration gods here soon.
Oh my goodness, that is so funny. All right. So looking forward, how do you see conversational AI evolving, right? And what can businesses do to stay ahead? Because right now, yes, when I used ChatGPT to write the description for my product in an Etsy store, like, that's fine, right? When I'm writing an email, I want it to be as conversational as possible, and I want it to sound like it's coming from me and my voice. So how do you see that moving forward in the future? And we'll start with Karen.
Well, I think we've already been there. I mean, we've got all the chat bots. We've got the VA voice activated tools. We've got the text to speech. We've got the speech recognition with the transcribing AI, Fireflies, all of those kind of things. I think they're just going to have to become a little more emotional intelligent. And I think as they continue to do that, and, it's just like we do. We learn daily. These bots are learning as well. So I just think they're just going to continue to get better, but it's just going to be the fact that they have to keep working on them.
Can I touch on that for a second?
Absolutely.
Something, and I apologize if I mispronounced her name, but it was that Effie that was in the last round table.
Aoife.
Her super dupe technology sounds amazing, and I cannot wait to jump into it. But if anybody missed that segment on her super dupe, like, I have been praying for this technology. I had no idea it was out there. A second me is all I've ever asked for. I just need a second me. And that, I think, is where this conversation that you're asking us about is that conversational AI. I think in that super dupe technology is going to be amazing for some of us that are very small business owners.
Great. And Jamie?
Yeah, I think everyone's touching on the same kind of points in that you use ChatGPT and it can give you answers that aren't very real, like a real person. So you want to use these tools, but you don't want to lose yourself in the process. So I think that the way that this is going to work is the tools, ChatGPT, all of these different large language models will begin to learn you and learn the way that you do things. So you're not a person using the technology, it is actually just reflecting you as an identity, really. So I think right now the best thing you can do is to give as much context into yourself, into your goals, into your situation as possible. I always tell people that, if you ask dumb or bland, not dumb, but if you ask bland, simple questions, you'll get bland, simple responses. So go really deep with it. Have a conversation. Imagine it's a real person, particularly on the chat function, you can do this. Imagine it's a friend and just list everything you're thinking about this certain thing, and you'll get way better responses.
Love it. Stephanie, anything else you'd like to add?
I was just giggling to myself because Jamie's talking over here, and I just keep imagining these guys that have now created fake girlfriends out of ChatGPT. So
they're on the rise too. They're on the rise.
Yeah, maybe not be that too personal, but yes, I mean, and when you really think about it, there's something for everybody, even guys looking for girlfriends, but there's just really something about it that's just amazing. I mean, even if you think about just the smaller kid technology, and I'm not sure if any of y'all have kids, but the new Furbies, have y'all seen those? And the Furbies that were available to us 30 years ago, and the technology that has come out with those. My daughter saved up all her money and just bought one. And so I've experienced it now in my household, not nearly as annoying as they were 30 years ago, but the technology and what they're doing with just children. I mean, it's insane. And I'm so excited about this, but it's, let's go back to the old days sometimes too,
And Jake, what are your thoughts on this?
So I think to answer that question, I think Stephanie nailed it previously before you asked the question, and she said integration, right? She said integration of different tools. So it's going to be the seamless integration, to go all the way back to what Aoife said, was it's got to be the seamless integration. We got to take the 5 platforms we use all the time. They've got to be in the one space, and they've got to work together. I think that's going to be the biggest piece that's going to make it much more easily. I mean, from an accessibility standpoint, there's still a lot of standoff going on as far as people just not wanting to embrace the technology. And, in the previous panel, Flo talked about this a little bit about employees that are afraid of AI replacing them. Well, the employees that are embracing AI that are making themselves irreplaceable, and you don't have to do it at an excessively, huge level. You can go back to this conversation reminds me, you go back to Tim Robbins' 4-Hour Work Week. When he wrote that book, this is what that's about. Leverage, 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 leverage. How can I gain 5 hours in a day? We talked about that. How can I pick up 5 minutes in a panel? So the integration is a huge, huge deal. And to answer Sandy's question, and everybody's talking about that, they're like, hey, I want this to be a more personal note of how I would write it. You would be shocked that I would tell you I have a bot for that's rolling out in the next couple of days. That's what it does. Because I had that same, everything we're building is because I need a tool, much like what Stephanie's doing. She's like, I need a thing. It needs it to do the thing. Go build the thing. We're doing the exact same deal. And this bot came out of, Sandy and I were actually at an event in Las Vegas in December. And I did something dumb in the event, and I said something out loud that wasn't a fully formed thought. That was not the way that I normally speak. And it landed on the audience like a brick. It was terrible. So it was like, okay, we need, I realized that in my email messaging and my social media posts and how I'm coming across a lot of times, and I'm going to own it. I can be short and abrasive. I'm aware of that in how I speak, but that's not how I typically communicate. So what if I had a bot that would help me fix some of that language within that to actually speak how I think? We built the bloody thing. It is literally getting ready to roll out. Guess how we built it? We kept asking ChatGPT how you would do the next step. And you just let it build itself. And literally the bot's getting ready to roll out. Like Nick, literally with the copy and paste, I was like, yes, that's exactly what we're doing. But he's doing it at the coding level. But you can build anything you want to integrate anything you want if you ask it the right questions.
Yeah. So think of a Bard, Midjourney, Claude, ChatGPT as a personal software engineer, assistant, travel agent, logo designer, graphic designer, copywriter, just about anything that you can imagine, from writing productivity to doing research. I've used it recently on is it ChatGPT Consensus to research academic papers in court cases. There is a whole lot more that people are still coming out with, continually adding to the repertoire and the database and the value that these generative AI languages can create. That is just absolutely amazing. But amongst, I think it was Dr. Alan Brand, the previous, said there are thousands of programs within each one of these generative language models. There are literally thousands of programs, even inside of these larger programs. So my question to the panel here is, how do you choose what to use without losing the quality of customer service? Jake, why don't we, if you don't mind going back to back here, kicking that question off.
Not at all. So the easy answer to that, always start with the end in mind. When you're running through some of these models of what's the customer experience, what's the customer use it for. So if I'm the customer for any of the AI platforms that I'm particularly using, I'm going to want ease of use. I want results right now. When I'm using technology, I don't want to have to go in and have to spend a week learning the platform. I just don't want to do that. And when I'm creating content from chat, any of the platforms, right? I use chat because that's the easiest one, everybody knows. When I'm creating content, I'm not creating it from what do I want. I'm creating it from who's the end user. So what my client wants, if I have a coaching client that's a hedge fund operator in Silicon Valley, that's going to want a specific result, I'm going to ask it to produce that result based on the resources that I give it, based on the legacy data that I have. If we think with the end in mind and we think end user in mind, for me, that's the best way to make sure we're getting the result that we want. Because what I build for me is maybe not what Stephanie wants. It may not be what Karen wants. It may not be what Jamie wants. But if I build something and I think, okay, Stephanie said she wants integration. She's got these 5 platforms. How would we build this to fulfill what Stephanie wants it to do? It's still going to fit what I want it to do in the end, but she gave me the +4 to be able to get to where it is where she needs it to run. So when we think end in mind, that for me, that's the best way to build it.
Awesome. Stephanie.
I honestly, I keep it out of my interface with my clients. So I basically just use all AI in-house because my clients, like I said, I'm a boutique construction company. My clients are not going to do well. They need that personal touch. They need that personal experience. And so the only things that I utilize it for, and being in Texas, we used to operate off handshakes. And so this is new. And I don't, it's slow for me to transition it to my clients, but I will say when we had that freeze a couple of years ago, I made my own Google Forms. So I used a form of the AI to implement it in the back office, but I keep all my AI basically in-house and I do all my customer stuff personal right now. That may change in the future, but it's going to have to go slow down here in Texas. I can tell you that.
Thank you. Jamie.
Yeah, I think it's different client to client or person to person. Some people are still, as we've said before, they have their backs up against it, still fighting against this new technology, and that's completely fine. But I think it's our job, people who do have some knowledge of this technology, to bring them in whatever way that might be, ease them into it. I work a lot with photographers who are terrified of it because they're worried of losing their jobs. But I think that even for people like that who directly feel like they're in the firing line, you can show them, hey, okay, well, there's ways that you can use ChatGPT to schedule shoots, to look at different locations that you could go, talk about different lighting, You could even put some of your own images through different AI tools that aren't generating new things, so it still keeps the integrity of their work. It's just finding the right way to approach people, I think, when it comes to this technology, because we're all dealing with it at the same time. I think there's been moments where everyone's had their mind blown, and that's fantastic because this is mind-blowing technology. It's just about looking past that and, okay, how can I integrate that into my work, into my life?
Awesome. And then I want to come back to you with a follow-up question, because I think you can, why don't we just do it now? And then Karen, I'll come back to you in just a minute. So talking about photographers and art, one of the big fears I know in the artist community is theft. What are some measures that are, this is probably a great conversation for the ethics panel next, but how can someone protect their program, protect their art from being stolen?
There's one good way, and that's to keep it offline. I mean, no one gave permission. This applies to ChatGPT. This applies to any of the image generators, Midjourney, whatever you want. No one gave consent at the start for their stuff to be taken down and then trained on. Now we have a heads up that this stuff is even possible, that this stuff is going on. So what I tell people is, if you really don't want it to be stolen, keep it offline. Of course, it's not always that simple, but I think it's going to be very difficult. I mean, Adobe is doing a great job. They're creating an initiative where they're Firefly. So they generate imagery in Photoshop as well. They create imagery. They say it's all trained off copyrighted, non-copyrighted stuff. Yeah, so there are combats against this at the moment, but if you want to be super safe, keep it offline. But then what's to stop? I can talk about this for ages, but yeah,
how do you
skip off?
My question is, how do you market then? All marketing is done on social media. So if you're trying to keep your work off a line, what purpose, you're fighting a losing battle there, because you're not going to be able to market it. Nobody's walking into other people's houses looking at portraits on the walls or things like that and going, oh, who's that? Everything is done online. Every reference, referrals, everything. So how do you protect yourself in that manner?
Yeah.
And this is something we're all working at. They're looking at doing kind of like a metadata type watermarking, so you can see the original source of the image. But I can think of a few ways around that. It is something that we're going to have to think about getting around and fixing, because right now it is quite tough and quite scary. I think if you spent your whole life developing your own artistic style, and someone can come along and look at it, grab it, make some iterations of that, so it would still be in your style but creating new works. It is a scary new world in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think the answer is going to be eventually blockchain, but we'll talk about that in the next panel. But Karen, wanted to give you a chance to answer the previous question there as well.
Sure. As far as using it with clients, using it as far as onboarding, things like that, that works extremely well. Otherwise, I enjoy it so much, I'm teaching more of how to use it, and what to use as far as prompts and how to get the right answers. And I just get real personal with chat. I just call him Chatty. So Chatty, what do we do on this? And so, just, it's a conversation. You just build a friendship here and keep moving. But it's a great area for me, like I said, for the onboarding. The other area that it's good for is even with creating sending out and creating contracts, even with the speaking.
Awesome. Well, we are in the transitionary period to the AI ethics, and it couldn't have dovetailed it any more perfectly. So I want to thank Karen, Jamie, Stephanie, Jake for all your insights into ChatGPT, the generative language models. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
That was absolutely amazing. I think as we add the ethics panel to the stage here, we're going to get into some really sticky topics. I know one of the panelists, he says, I hate AI. I hate artificial intelligence, and looking forward to hearing him be the protractor of the group, maybe. But as folks come on here, we get going on the ethics panel. I would encourage that if you're watching this, feel free to share this live stream to your socials and ask maybe one or two people to also share it as well. The information being provided here has been amazing. It's really been very informative. And we are missing one person here. All right. I think we are good to go on the ethics. Sandy, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. So welcome back to a few of you. You were on earlier. For those just joining us on the panel, thank you for being here. Let's just take a brief moment to go around and introduce yourself to the audience, and then we'll get to a question. Ava, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Hi, everyone. Again, it's such a pleasure being here. It's been absolutely a phenomenal day so far. And my name is Ava Tech, and I am. I came from business backgrounds. I work with enterprises in both enterprises and startups in some large digital transformations. And right now I am running my own management consulting firm, and I'm helping small and medium businesses to integrate AI, integrate technology into their systems, IT system, to improve processes, and helping their customer and employee happier.
Fantastic. And Dr. Brent Fessler.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Brent Fessler. I'm in San Antonio, Texas. My undergrad is in engineering. I used to build signal intelligence systems, spent about 14 years in higher education. And so I consider myself an educator, but my doctoral research is actually in adult character formation. And so I love identity. I love values, integration, and bringing those out into the open. I'm also a musician, so I love the art conversation that we were just having in the previous panel. And so I'm excited to be here and look forward to learning from everybody else on this panel.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Corbin Allenbrand.
Oh, it's interesting, Brent. My master's in chemical engineering. So before I did my doctoral studies in analytics and information theory, I was a chemical engineer. It's a natural transition. I basically manage data engineering and data science for about 20 of the kind of Midwest states of the United States for a company called Quest Diagnostics. And I also do kind of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and blockchain research. So I have a few publications out there.
Nice. Austin Smith.
Hi, my name's Austin Smith. I am down here near Cocoa, Florida, Cape Canaveral, where they shoot off all the cool SpaceX rockets every other day. Very thankful for it. Glad to be involved here as well. My background started when I was pretty young. At the age of 12, I opened my first business before the days of the internet. I had a bulletin board system. So hardware was natural for me, then kind of got into software development. And then as my career progressed, infrastructure became a big thing, and then got into software architecture. And my most recent enterprise gig was enterprise architecture. So very, very well focused on software integration methodologies, and most importantly, some of those fundamentals that we should all carry with us by nature, which is security by default.
Awesome. And John.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. My name is John Caudill. I'm located here in San Antonio, Texas as well. CEO of Legacy Building Consultants. We specialize in claim dispute resolutions for insurance carriers. And yeah, ethics. I could talk about ethics and AI all day. I said earlier in my previous panel that I'm sort of in the middle. In some ways, I might seem like I advocate for it. In other ways, I feel a little cautious about it. I don't want to go too fast, too far, and then realize, oh no, we've created a monster, like everybody's talking about Skynet. And so the ethics in as far as supply chains, automation, different industries, I think it makes a lot of sense. Insurance is service based. And so now we're getting into human interaction with customers. And so just how do we deal with that? The black and white situations certainly makes a lot of sense to use AI, but there's a lot of gray area. And how do we integrate AI into the decision-making process? So I look forward to discussing that a little bit further.
Awesome. Well, this is a very, AI is a topic that can be polarizing. It strikes a lot of fear in a lot of people, mainly for they can lose their well-being, their livelihood. But on the ethics panel, I wanted to discuss how can businesses avoid giving control of their business to and essentially creating Skynet. What can be done to protect data? Austin, do you want to open us up to this question?
Absolutely. Yeah. I, as I mentioned, security by default is very important. Taking part in a symposium today, I love every topic that has been discussed and would like to piggyback off some of those items. So for instance, with the programming and generative code, I recommend one step past generating the code, and that would be source control analytics for security. It's called SAST, S-A-S-T in the industry. And basically what it does is it goes through the code and checks for programmatic vulnerabilities within the application itself. So having that checkpoint there can make sure that we're not potentially creating a platform that could be really used for a botnet or cross-site scripting or something of that nature, right? That's just one of the many steps that we need to take and kind of lay the groundwork for as we get into this. Just because we should doesn't mean we should, right?
Right.
Also, data scrubbing, garbage in, garbage out. I've heard that a few times today. I need to make sure that we take care, not to pump social security numbers, date of births, or any PII, PHI into these platforms when it's someone else running the platform, right? Because we cannot ensure data integrity all the way through.
Dr. Corbin.
Yeah, I think we can take comfort in knowing that humans won't be taken over for a good probably decade or so. True general artificial intelligence is pretty far off. We're amazed by generative AI, so we all think use ChatGPT, but how many tasks do humans do besides conversation, fact lookup and so forth? But yeah, I think, Austin, your point about security by default is an interesting notion. And for those who don't know it, basically it means when you design software or some kind of information system, the settings of that are the most secure possible. And some people find this controversial because it pushes up against how usable it is, right? Some people don't like it because it constrains things. But since this is an ethics panel, I think another concept that we can kind of think about is to relate it to security by default is ethical design. So the idea here is when you design an AI product, you don't just use AI engineers, ML engineers. You bring in philosophers, you bring in sociologists, you bring in psychologists and ethicists, and they help you build systems so that they don't violate certain human rights and things like human autonomy. But generally speaking, we're pretty far off from Skynet. I know the media likes to amplify things, but when you're on the ground floor of these things, you realize just in the background kind of how primitive things truly are.
Great perspective. Dr. Brent.
Yeah, I think what you said, just because you can doesn't mean you should. One of the things that technological disruptions bring is this, blowing out barriers. We saw it, a decade ago with digital rights management, with music. Now all of a sudden, I can make copies easily and distribute them. I never really had to confront that ethics because I just couldn't. It wasn't practical to do things before. And so as business leaders or leaders in our organizations, we got to remember who we are and go in there and just we have to be asking ourselves, just because I can gather this data or do this with AI, does it mean that I should? We can't just lay down our values. In fact, we have to kind of pull them back out because one of the things that happens when we get into kind of homeostasis with a particular ecosystem environment, the ethics kind of get built into the norms of everything. So I don't really have to work really hard to live ethically because I just kind of go along with the flow. And now you have something disruptive, and the norms are getting all jacked up. And so like we can't forget our values as we are living in this, especially this disruptive phase.
Awesome. Miss Ava.
Yes. So, I can come from my own personal experience helping organizations, especially some of the organizations in healthcare. The first thing we need to think about is like how, if we integrate AI into IT systems, how are we going to do that in a way that is secured and bring peace of mind for the patients, because this can be a very sensitive information related to their personal health history. So that leads me to the second point is that when we're thinking about creating an AI new platform or AI integrations with the IT system, we need to really create that governance, that body, bringing all different stakeholders into it, and really have people from different point of view, having some really, even you can consult the legal and the compliance office too, because that's related to a lot of important and sensitive data. And then the third thing I would say is the education, like what we're doing right now. So every companies really should give time and space for leaders as well as staff to really learn about ethical implications. Like especially for folks who actually use large data. Sometime AI can, if data is not clean to start with, then it has the way to manipulate or make bias.
Yeah, and something you and I talked about when we spoke a few weeks ago was implementing technology within a very strategic approach, right? You don't want to just haphazardly throw a new program out there without having it tested, without knowing how it's going to impact all shareholders, how it's going to impact the customers, the customer perception of the company. There's a lot of factors there. John, what do you?
Yeah, so I think planning. I think getting down and really understanding that not one size does not fit all. So fast food restaurants may use AI different than, again, insurance, which is the industry that I'm in. Insurance really touches every part of our life. So whether it's your home, auto, health insurance, life insurance, it has a lot of sensitive information. So I feel like visiting current security protocols, visiting current just standards that you use. As a leader of my organization, I bring the other executive leaders into the discussion and really, I think, hash out what our concerns are. And then again, the lawyers, making sure that we're not doing anything illegal, making sure that our data is completely secure. I think that has to be vital. Number one, we have to trust the data, but our customers, more importantly, need to trust that they're giving us information that we're going to be able to protect it. So I think that's a valid concern. Right now, I think using it for minuscule tasks or tedious tasks, I think that's important. But getting too far involved, I think there has to be a lot of planning that goes into the use of AI and what information we're feeding that from our systems.
Awesome. Well said.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So I'm kind of curious, in what role does transparency play in the use of AI by small businesses? Like, do we need to be transparent when we're having these processes? And how does that affect decision-making with customers and their trust using a specific brand? Ava, we'll start with you. You need to unmute, Ava.
Yes, so I'm back. So the question is, how do we build trust with customers and stakeholders using AI? And how are we bringing that transparency about AI in the operation, while creating that system to operate? So these are really important questions, right? Like, once again, I think it's about that communication. First of all, that planning. First of all, like I mentioned, 55% of organizations planning to deploy some sort of AI initiative in the next 12 months, and 20% have already deployed some sort of AI, but a lot of time, a lot of this AI initiative is not being thought through. So there's a lack of even transparency and communication that really create a lot of barriers for building that trust with stakeholders, even with employees. I would say treat this as a digital transformation. So having that communication every step of the ways, really having that transparency from the higher goals, missions, and how you break it down to employees and the stakeholders and even your customers. It's really important because then everyone understands what are they going to, why are they using AI. Is really AI is important here.
Exactly. Fantastic answer. Thank you so much. Dr. Brett.
Yeah, I think, as users get more comfortable with AI, they'll get comfortable with the responses from it. But I don't know if we'll ever get past, I want to know if AI is talking to me or not, if I'm trying to interact with a company. And if the company's trying to act like they're communicating to me as a person, but it is AI and I can tell it, man, my trust goes down really quick as a user, right? But if you tell me it's AI, I think, hey, this is kind of cool. I'm not wasting somebody's time. I can actually, kind of take my time with this. I'm okay if I know it. And so I think, to Ava's point, the communication, especially the customer, we're using AI for this. I'm a real person now. I don't want to ever be caught as trying to pretend to be a real person and it's really AI. And I think we're going to lose trust with customers if we try to do things like that.
Totally agree. And I was laughing because I don't know if you've all seen the Discover has these series of advertisements with this one actress, and I'm not even sure who she is, but she's pretty funny. And it's like, oh, wow, you bots are starting to sound more human-like. But yeah, I agree with you, Dr. Brent. If you know, like when you know that it's a bot and it's pretty obvious, then you're set up. But when it's trying to, if it sounds like a human and I find out it's not, like they'd lose my trust.
Well, yeah, I got an email back from somebody the other day, and that was clearly AI. I was like, hey, cool, way to use AI to try to compose an email, but you didn't even proofread this thing. You didn't take out the brackets where it said, dear insert name right here, right? So I'm like, oh my gosh, right?
Sorry
at least
about that.
proofread the thing so that I know that it's accurate information coming out. So.
Exactly. All right, Dr. Corbin.
Yeah, I think I'll get a little like first principles. What do we mean by transparency? So this is an interesting question because sometimes these terms are kind of vague and lack clarity, at least for me. Other people can kind of agree. So I like to think that when you're being transparent, what are you trying to do? You're basically trying to promote trust and accountability. So you want your customers, let's say, to trust you, and you want them to know that you're accountable. So part of transparency, especially if we're using a definition of AI, which is a system that can reach decisions, not just do routine tasks, how are those decisions reached? What information, what data was used to reach those decisions, and what was the purpose of you using this AI system? So if you're a small business owner and you're using AI to help you reach decisions, especially ones that are customer facing, and you can't explain how those decisions were reached, you're in a danger zone. Because people find this very untrustworthy. Interestingly enough, I'll leave it here, but there's a whole field in AI called explainability or explainable AI, which says, okay, a lot of these AI systems are black boxes. You can't see them. Imagine a black box you can't see inside. So how do you use something you can't see inside of? Do you just blindly trust it? So it's interesting because within the last probably 5 or 6 years, explainable AI has grown, not just as an academic discipline, but now it's impacting how decisions are made.
Well, and it's that whole faith. Like, do we have faith in it or not? Yeah. Interesting. We could probably talk about that one for hours. Okay, Austin.
Yeah, it's tough to go behind y'all. Y'all really nailed it pretty well, in my opinion. I think, as with any relationship, communication is key. And due to the lack of privacy laws that we typically have here in the States, Europe has kept up a little bit better in some aspects. I to feel it important to maintain that level of transparency, right? I mean, the way I look at it, we try and go online to save time and chat with a person or a bot that will get us to the right person. And, you know, just something as simple as, hey, excuse us while we learn, and we're using this platform, is, you know, there's going to be a classification of people out there that don't desire to use this technology at all, right? And, you know, as we saw the IVR evolve over time, right? When you call up a company and you get the recording and press 1 for English, you know, whatever, you can't hit 0 anymore and get to a person. So I think that there's a need to also keep that fast path available to continue to build that relationship. And again, yes, transparency is communication is key in that transparency.
All right, John. Curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. So it's a balance. It's a balance, and I think Dr. Brent mentioned, you can kind of tell when you're talking to AI. So I think it's generally, even today, I think it's going to be acceptable for the most part that businesses use AI. But if your business is, you're selling a product, I don't think they mind that you use AI for accounting. They don't mind that you use AI for HR, for recruiting, for marketing. But I think when it comes down to the product or the service that you're selling, I think that's where there's going to be a differentiating factor between you and your competition. Are you using more AI than human? And I think that's going to be a deciding factor for a lot of consumers out there. Some people may prefer AI. Some people may prefer human, interacting with humans. So I think there's going to be a balance that needs to be struck. But at the end of the day, communicating with your consumers exactly what you're doing when they're interacting. If it's behind the scenes, I feel like they don't necessarily need to know how the sausage is made. I don't think you have to divulge all of that. But if they're interacting with AI and AI is involved in the decision-making process, I think it's essential, and I think it's very ethical to explain that that's part of your business practice.
Awesome. Well said. And there's a common theme amongst all the answers. So I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into the whole thing. This is something that is you may have knowledge of, you may not, and if you don't, it's okay to pass on this question. But as we all know, AI is moving so quickly. It's there are a lot of deep fakes that are coming to the surface, and it's almost becoming difficult to tell what's real, what's fake. I know the quality of data, the chain of custody, and the integrity of the data is a huge concern. Blockchain, which is going to be, I think, in the end, is going to help authenticate what's real and what's fake. Those are some tools being used, but more so than that, the laws on a federal and also laws on a state level are really, really lacking. There was recently a call, I think it was late last year. Hey, we need to push the pause button on AI development. The genie's out of the bottle. You can't put it back. We're too far advanced for that now. So lawmakers are rushing to try to create some systems to help guide the whole AI process. In your opinion, what are some things that lawmakers can do to help AI developers ethically develop artificial intelligence? And I'm not sure who to call on, so I want to leave it as open-ended. Is there a first volunteer?
I'll jump in. I think in general, whether it be legislators or anyone, we need to remember who we are going into this. And I think for a lot of us, that means we're actually maybe for the first time going to have to articulate what's important, what are our values, and what is important here. From an ethics approach, I really I favor what's called virtue ethics, and that's where you have this short list of these are our values, and to use those ethics though is a skill. Like, okay, I can know my list of values, but how do I apply that into my day-to-day life? And here we've got to do this like whole learning process, like over one, what are our values? Let's remind ourselves of that we share as a society. And two, how do I now go about applying that? But it at least starts with, and this is what like my research in character formation applies here. Without a clear framework, you're pretty much stuck, right? So we're going to have to take a step back and say, what are our values that we really do care about and cherish in our society. Let's get clear about that. Let's agree on that. And then we can start legislating into those things. But as a character formation expert, I hate trying to regulate our way to something that should really be values from the inside out. Our founders when America started, and I know there's an international audience, but as this free society was coming up, and so we're trying to do away with this outside control, we have to have a people of virtue. And to have a people of virtue, it means we have to have a list of virtues. Benjamin Franklin did this. The ancient Greeks did it. Here's our virtues. We agree these are valuable. Now let's get good at applying that, and we're going to have to do that. It's going to be in our legislature, but we also have to do it in our institutions. Our universities that are teaching AI have to be saying these are our values that we need to get inside of us.
Yeah, I think thanks, Dr. Brent, for taking the political question. I was like, ooh, I don't know who wants to take that. I think anything becoming political, especially these days, it's a shame, because I would love for us as a nation, as even an international community, I would love for us to intrinsically be able to adhere to those core values that we have. But we know that where there's money to be made, a lot of times that comes second fiddle to making money, right? So yeah, I think maybe it was Dr. Corbin earlier that mentioned that we need to bring philosophers into the discussion. We need to bring sociologists into the conversation. I think that's absolutely it. I think the politicians are probably the last on the journey to regulating the use of AI, and that should probably go for everything. So maybe it's optimistic, but I'd like to see us be able to adhere to a set of values and use it ethically before we get the politicians involved. So when there is regulation that comes out, it's natural. We've already sort of figured it out as a community. So maybe that's wishful thinking. That's what I'm going to hope for.
No, I think that the two answers there summed it up so succinctly. I want to throw out a different question in the last few minutes we have. How can small businesses navigate the potential bias in IA? I think, Ava, you mentioned that briefly. And I guess if you could really simplify it for us, what is bias and why is it an ethical question? How is that? Why is that important?
Yeah, so that is such a great question, Tom. So I always come from my own lens when I help organizations and companies. Each organization have their own DNAs, and each organization have their own customers and their own goals. So as someone who actually working to help organization to improve processes, integrating AI, I often look at the benefits and the risk and the trade-off, and who am I serving and who the customers and clients are serving. So bias happens, we touch on it, right? Like we touch on diversities, we touch on diverse different data sets, like are these data clean data, and are there not really tampered with a lot of existing bias. When we have looking at our data set is important, and having that regular audits is also important, just to make sure that AI algorithms identify and address any other potential bias that exist. And to your point, organizations now should really even have that bias awareness training. We do that with diversity, equity, and inclusion. We should do that with AI system as well, so that employees can really learn how to identify and navigate around that. And last piece is making sure, like, the conversation that we have today is based on collaborations and expertise. And so that's where AI ethic is really coming into having that collaboration, more collaboration like this, more awareness and education.
Awesome. Dr. Corbin.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I'll work on a definition of bias. So typically for AI, it's when you have preferential or some kind of discriminatory treatment of individuals or groups. So a really good example of this is there's AI that helps judges reach determinations of sentencing. This has been known to exhibit bias because there's actually bias embedded within the data. Think of the granting of loans to certain individuals. Some of these very primitive AI algorithms are biased in the sense that certain individuals, based upon certain sensitive traits, don't get loans. Some do. So bias in terms of definition is relatively straightforward. Luckily for most people, fairness AI is a whole field that's dedicated to this problem. So there's actually algorithms that sit on top of predictions that can let you correct for bias. Now there's different ways of doing it, but anyone who wants to implement a simple prediction algorithm, will this person buy a product from me or not? You can tailor the prediction so that it fits certain definitions of fairness. And this has been around for almost a decade. So fairness AI is a well-established methodology. There's a lot of algorithms out there. Now, again, it adds to the surplus of things to look through, but it's there. So, with a good partnership with somebody, you can definitely find something to help you achieve a bias-free workplace.
Awesome. And to wrap up the panel, we have Austin.
Thank you, Tom. Well stated again. It's really difficult to go after anybody in this group because y'all are on it. Definitely agree wholeheartedly in those aspects, and I think it really underscores, taking Ava and Dr. Corbin's feedback there and putting it together, along with some of the other feedback and some of the other questions and other groups you've had today. I don't feel that we are to a point yet with AI where we can just unleash it. It still needs that human interaction, that human review, right? You can't just like the emails. It's a great way to handle it. It's a great way to increase your productivity. However, you need to make sure that you review it before you send it. And doing something like that and not just giving blind trust to AI, generative AI specifically, I think that we'll see better results there. And there is also another underlying principle. I got to say it just because I called it out earlier in the panel: garbage in, garbage out. We got to look at what we're feeding the beast, right? And there are some things you shouldn't feed animals. So with that being said, we got to work on it. And then there's also another point to AI where it's fundamental in the design, where it's neural and it's transfer, right? So that kind of gets more into the technicalities of it. But all of this data can be transferred between something like an LLM, a large language model, almost instantaneously through a neural network by design. So just because you're able to weed it out on one doesn't mean that it's not going to get polluted again, which is another issue, right? I really hope that we can look to NIST in the USA, and NIST is the National Institute for Standards and Technology. PCI DSS and some HIPAA is based off of those NIST 800 standards. Hopefully they can get on the ball and get some of that stuff updated.
Awesome. I got to say, I've been surprised by some of the answers. Hopefully this has put some fears that the audience has, maybe put that at ease. But want to thank everybody so much for your time and just freely giving the knowledge and just putting your thoughts out there for the world to see and hear. So thank you so much. We are getting ready to bring on two individuals. And as Tim, if you guys can step down from the stage, we're getting ready to bring on Michael Silvers. Let me get him on the stage here. Michael, welcome. One of my mentors, one of the owners of the LA Tribune Podcast Network, has worked with Tony Robbins and Harbecker and a whole bunch of others, but it is a true privilege to co-host this with Sandy and Michael Silvers. What an honor. And the next guest on is I have to bring on is Manoj. Welcome. Oh, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So I want to take 2 seconds where we have a couple minutes to spare.
Yeah.
And if you are watching this, take 2 seconds, share to your socials. You will not want to miss this last segment of the AI Symposium with Sandy, Michael Silvers, and Manoj. We have talked extensively, and the amount of value you have added to the AI globally, the AI community, has been absolutely astounding. So glad you are with us. Sandy, do you want to kick things off, or Michael? Why don't we have Michael introduce himself first? I've been talking the
There you
whole time. Sorry.
Hey, no, it's all good. It's so great to have this because it's really you're looking at cutting edge, but I love the piece that they talked about earlier. There's still the human edge. There's still the human piece of everything that we do, and there's a tendency of fearing what we don't know, and there's a tendency of, I mean, look, when we started, when Mary Glorfield took Tony Robbins around the world, there was even fear. Who is this guy? What is he doing? What is all this? Is this like a cult? That's we used to hear that all the time. Is this going to change our mindset or change the way we live? And is it going to take us out of work because they're trying to automate all these systems? And there's always these fears that come up. And it's great that you're doing this today because you've brought the human piece in. You've brought the piece that says we're still humans, we're doing this together, and it's great to have all of us together. And really with what we're doing at the Los Angeles Tribune, really enriching and enhancing and bringing the education always out there. And what you're doing today has been fantastic. It's great to be on with you guys. And Sandy, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Well, I'm just so excited to be here, and I've been taking notes all afternoon, and I have learned so much. And it's kind of one of those things that when you learn about a certain thing and you don't understand all of the little intricacies, it just does seem so overwhelming. And so to second what you said, Michael, I'm hoping that the audience, some of their fears about using, even if it's just as simple as ChatGPT, using that in your business. I only mentioned it at the beginning of the program, and it's worth mentioning again that what just the AI technology has done for my podcast. And I know that we had one of the panelists earlier, what she was talking about, how it's helped her social media explode. It's helped my podcast explode. And so there's just so many little things that you can do with it. And just been a real honor to be here today. And I'll turn it back to you, Tom. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Manoj, I'm probably not going to do justice to your accomplishments, but I will try, and feel free to correct me and expound on what I'm going to say here. So you sit on 2 university boards, helping them curate AI university courses. You've literally written the book on cybersecurity that experts read, not someone like the rest of us would just pick up on a Sunday afternoon. You have impacted over 10 million people with AI software implementations globally, added over $500 million, with a B, over $500 million in software value, and you have 4 patents. You've implemented some corporate governance. You've handled the interaction of writing AI code with 3D inserts and integrating the robotics with the software. And I'm sure there's more that I'm missing. Would you kind of go into any gaps that I'm leaving out here?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. At the basic level, we have used AI to help patients get better, relieve their joint pains, help doctors provide better care to their patients. In the education space, we have helped students learn in a more personalized manner. We have helped university students not drop out of their university degree programs, because 30% of the students drop out currently in the US in the first 2 years. There has been a lot of exciting projects that I have been lucky to be part of. For me, it's like a hobby. It's like fun, taking difficult problems and using these powerful technologies to solve those problems. And in effect, like sort of impact millions of lives, because that's what's exciting about technology. Like you do your work on your computer, and then you make it available to millions of people around the world, and they get impacted by your work. So that's the exciting part for me.
You mentioned, I'm going to jump in. You mentioned healthcare, which I had been in for a long time, and there always was the fear of the patients that we're removing them from the sequence. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that comes up all the time as we're moving down this road?
See, what happens is, like, any commercial business, and healthcare specifically in the US is a commercial business. And whenever your objectives are more profits, you look for efficiencies in the system. And the interaction between a patient and a doctor, it cannot be classified as a task that you have to get done. There's a lot of relationship building. There's a lot of listening involved, and that has been sort of taken out of this whole process. And that's the reason why patients feel that they are marginalized, they are not being taken into account, and all that. But the good part is, as these technologies start to get adopted, so I'll give you a statistic, and this is coming from a real conversation I had with a neurosurgeon. He's a very accomplished neurosurgeon, and he told me, on average, 80% of the time spent by doctors or surgeons is administrative tasks, entering data into their computer systems or what have you. And only 20% of their time is actually spent with the patients. So now you can imagine if we implement technologies like AI, which can sort of take away all that drudgery of work, the mundane, repetitive work that nobody wants to do. And this is not just in healthcare, this is in all our lives as well. And we offload that to the machine, and we say, hey, doctor, now you have 80% more time in your week to spend with patients and listen to their problems, and not, and give them personalized advice. That will shift the focus to the patient. And so that will happen across the board. It is already happening at a smaller scale, but think about where we were in 1995 when the internet came along, and nobody knew what a website is, nobody knew what email is. People were happy with their white pages and yellow pages. And in like 2 or 3 years, everything changed. So that's where we are with AI as well. And in the next few years, things will look very different.
So I'd like to ask you a question to kind of tag on to what you were just talking about, Manoj. So I heard on a podcast, it was, I mentioned this earlier, it was with Sam Altman, who's the founder of ChatGPT. He was talking to Joe Rogan, and they were talking about how in this one instance, a man didn't get a good answer from the veterinary, but had a blood test of his dog. He just thought he was going to have to put the dog down, put it into, I'm making a really long story short, put it into ChatGPT, got a diagnosis, went back to the vet. The dog is alive. So you get where I'm going with this. Most doctors, because of all the administrative things, but either that, they've got to see 25 patients a day, and you've got just a couple of minutes with them, and they're just they're practicing medicine, right? You practice law, you practice medicine, right? It's so how do you see artificial intelligence really helping doctors and make diagnosis quicker and more accurate diagnosis? Or this is your blood test, this is what you really need, instead of taking this pill.
Yeah. See, it comes down to, again, efficiency and what is going on and what is the state of a mind of a physician or a veterinarian or anybody who's got lots of work to do in their day, right? So as humans, no matter what, like on the day where my calendar is booked, I'm stressed from when the time I wake up, because I have to go through all these meetings and make sure that everything gets done. So, but if I had an assistant with me helping me take notes, or just like giving me advice, a good analogy will be professional golf players. They have a caddy with them, not just to carry their stuff, but to advise them and say, hey, this is how you should play a shot, and if you take this angle, it'll be good. So imagine having that buddy with you all the time, which does not get tired, which does not respond to like emotional triggers during our day, which does not have a fight with their spouse, which does not get upset when somebody cuts them off in traffic. And they are able to give us objective advice and say, you know what, like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? and that gives us a chance to get back into our state, objective state of mind, and say, hey, I didn't consider that. Because the human mind is as powerful as it is still quite primitive, in that we just focus on very limited sort of point of view that is right in front of us. And if on one particular day I'm emotionally triggered, half of my mind is trying to solve that problem, and it could be my personal problem, and half of it is focused on my professional responsibility. So with AI, we can really minimize that. We can really bring back our judgment. One quick experiment, I always share this with people. If you want to experience something like this and see what I'm talking about, we face a lot of difficult challenges in our day-to-day life. Let's say you want to have a difficult conversation, or you want to convince your kid to clean their room, or whatever. Sometimes we say, I'm not able to communicate, I'm not able to connect, I'm not able to get have this difficult conversation with somebody. So you can think about, go to ChatGPT, and what my favorite thing to do is, I say to ChatGPT, now you are Socrates, okay? You are the father of philosophy. And I am dealing with this situation where I have to get my son to clean his room, and I'm not able to convince him. So advise me as Socrates, I'm a dad, advise me, how will you deal with this? And then it comes up with, Socratic questioning for me for that situation. And now it puts me in the right state of mind and say, hey, did I explain the importance of cleanliness to my son? Did I give him all the instructions how to clean his room? Did I put some incentives on the table for him to clean the room? These are all the things we forget, because being a parent, I'm like, I assume, like, I say something to my son and he'll obey it. That's not the case. That doesn't work in human interactions. So now you can see, like, just using that in your day-to-day life, how quickly AI can become such a powerful force to help you navigate these complexities.
I know the previous panels this afternoon, we've talked about we had one panelist, Jeff. He said, AI has literally saved my marriage. But it's funny how more and more people are realizing that they can turn and use generative AI language as a tool, as a way to provide guidance on relationships. But I want to shift the focus a little bit on, you mentioned, like, we're still in, like, the 1995 era of AI, and we have that much forward progression to go. And I know when we spoke a few weeks ago, there is coming in the very near future a hockey stick effect. When you have mass adoption, the fear goes down, the acceptance goes up, and people start accepting AI is here, and I'm gonna start using it. So when do you think, and what is it going to take for the hockey stick to kind of hit when we hit that bell curve?
See, the thing about technological revolutions is there is no particular day when we can say, okay, on this day hockey stick is happening. We are in it right now. We just don't know it. I mean, we don't notice it, right? The amount of money that has gone into AI, the amount of conversations we are having about AI has skyrocketed, even though AI has been in our life for the last 20 years, right? So when we talk about hockey stick growth, pick the richest person on the planet, like, top 3 or 4 or 5. Pick Elon Musk, pick Mark Zuckerberg, pick Jeff Bezos. Put their net worth on a graph, and if that is not a hockey stick, then I don't know what that is, because every dollar that they earned, these guys whose name I use, is attributed to AI. That's it. So we are already in that hockey stick growth. Now, what is happening is the common person, the non-technical person, people with, maybe no money to spend on this technology, or, small business owners, now they are in the game. Now they can use AI to build, large companies. So that is the next phase of the hockey stick growth, when everybody will start adopting it. and will produce value from it.
You know, one thing that you hear, because there is that you've done what you've done today has been great because it's really taken away a lot of that fear, right? A lot of that, and even with the entrepreneur world, there's always the entrepreneur world is up and down. When you've got to jump in, you've got to just do it. And we have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to these calls. Can you just talk a little bit about that? You know, I'm starting a business, whatever business I'm in. How is AI going to make my life easier? And you talked about, you know, the strategies, and you talked about we can automate, but just from a mindset, how does that make it easier for the entrepreneur to jump in nowadays?
Yeah, it's funny. I was running a mastermind today, and I actually talked about exactly the same thing. So, in a small business, if you're starting a business or if you have a small business, because I bring my experience from large corporations, some of the largest companies in the world, and also startups which are like just starting from day one. The biggest factor in success of a company is your people, your team. People who are believing in your mission and they're helping you move this thing forward. Right now, the problem is that as a small business owner, salaries are the biggest line item on the expense, and in many cases we don't. In many cases, people don't even have the money to hire the right people. So now imagine you are able to hire very educated employees. So let's say you need a marketing professional, you need a sales professional, you need somebody to help you with managing your money, accounting, and you are able to find a Harvard-educated PhD for $25 a month. Right now, you build a team of these people. You can hire the best accountant, Harvard-educated accountant. You can hire the best marketer, hire the best salesperson. And these are the opportunities that are available as an entrepreneur to you to hire these employees who will give you objective feedback, give you guidance, give you tactical steps on what to do, how to do it. And very cool. Another application of this is, I have a team of like 4 or 5 executives, and we make decisions about our next steps. So many of these meetings we started having some conflicts around, okay, should we do it this way or should we do it that way? So what we did was we created avatars, AI avatars of ourselves. We uploaded our personality into these AIs, and we said, okay, let's bring them into our board meetings and then have them advise us on our decision making. So it really removed all the egocentric, all the emotional side of decision making. And AI was able to say to us, if this is what you are looking for as an outcome, this is the right decision to make. And it just really truly shows the power that we have at our hands, right? So if you can tap into that, like you can get advice from, I don't know, Tony Robbins, let's say. If Tony Robbins is on your board,
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine how it will transform your company?
Mm-hmm. Got it. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. What a great answer.
So I've been sitting here thinking, because had so much information today. And one of the things I keep going back to is, because you've said it and a couple other people said it, that we're kind of like in 1995 where we were with the internet. And that just blows my mind, because I won't forget the day I went to visit my mom and dad. And my father was always on the cutting edge of, he was a hospital administrator, but he loved technology. And I remember him demonstrating, and it was one of the first ones that came out. It was before AOL. It was another internet in a box type of thing. And he plugged it into the phone line, and you're sitting there and you're like, and he's like, yeah, but you can search it. I'm like, but why? Like, what? Like, it just, because you didn't know what you didn't know. And now here we are. I've got a computer in my hand that is attached to my hip. What more is there to come with AI technology? I just can't see, right? Because I don't know what I don't know. What more is there to come?
So let me ask you, we all, seems like we all involved in businesses and we all trying to accomplish things, right? So and let's just play a quick game. What is your end goal? Let's say you have all your dreams fulfilled. What does that life look like for you?
Well, for me, it doesn't involve sitting in front of a computer for 4 hours.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so let's assume you'll be having the greatest time of your life with the right kind of people around you at the right time, right? Typically, what we say is that we will do that either when we retire or we win a lottery, in general parlance, right? So, and that we are talking sitting in a first world country, being privileged in working in like really rewarding careers, jobs, businesses. Think about 90% or 99% of the population of this planet who have, who are not even like, they struggle for basic necessities, right?
Right.
Now, the world we are going towards, and let's look back at the long term, very long term view of human evolution. When we were in the caves, our first priority was where do we get food from, right? And until about maybe 1900s, early 1900s, that was the major concern on our mind all the time. And most people spent their entire life working for food. But as industrialization happened, we got food available to us. We had even day off, like we had weekends. We didn't have to like walk miles and miles to get water. All these technological advancements improved human life, and it became comfortable. But as we know, as we just said, we are still working to get even more comfortable. We don't want to be in front of screens. Our end goal is to enjoy our life. So if we win a lottery, we will be able to enjoy our life tomorrow. AI is that lottery. Now, how that lottery manifests itself for nations, for our communities, for ourselves, that is to be seen. But what I can tell you with certainty is cost of living will drastically come down to almost zero. You will be able to buy anything that you desire to buy, because the cost of manufacturing those goods will come drastically down, and you won't have to like earn that much or work that much to be able to enjoy a high living standard. So when you ask me what is to come, it's not about what gadgets will be there or what technologies will be there. Think about what kind of quality of life that we all desire. That's what's coming, and everything else is just just a means to get to that end.
Well, that sounds delightful to me. So thank you.
That what you said is make my neurons just fire on all different cylinders here. As we've seen technology, and I mean, talk about just metal technology, evolution of the metal goods and machinery, and as technology, not AI technology, evolve over a long period of time, there seems to be an increasingly distance between the have and have nots.
Mm-hmm.
So with the cost of goods coming down, is that really going to radically change, or will it bring the have and have nots closer, or do you think it will further divide the have and have nots? I mean, it just makes me wonder. You took the long-term view, maybe kind of step back and take that thought process, that thought there.
See, I believe in the goodness of humanity. I believe we are not greedy people. So, but the thing is, like, there are very limited resources available today for most people. So we struggle to like say, okay, how much do I want for myself, and the rest is distributed. But when there is abundance, human nature is highly unpredictable. Okay, so how people will behave in this new society, in this new paradigm, nobody can tell. But I really hope that we recognize the abundance that we have created, and we are able to share that without any prejudice, without any like greed or what have you. This is the great unknown that nobody knows how things will unfold, and that's why a lot of people are concerned are we ready for that kind of society? What will happen? But as an optimist, I believe it'll turn out just fine.
Fantastic. So for you, because you didn't really go into what your company does, what are you doing today to influence, or are you doing anything today to influence some of the things that are these big decisions that are being made?
Yeah, I mean, so we are working with companies who want to get ahead in the curve. They want to implement technology. They want to leverage AI beyond what the basic things are going on. People are using ChatGPT to write social posts and articles. That's all great, but there's much more power in AI. ChatGPT itself is just one small manifestation of AI. So what we are doing is we are again, as I said, like, we are going into industries like plumbing. So we are helping them, become more efficient, provide better customer experience, fix problems faster. We are going into, roofing companies. Again, with roofing, they are using, drones to figure out what is the area of their roof and what the weather is going to be like, so that when they actually want to serve a customer, they can schedule it on the right day. All these things which used to take a lot of mental power and energy and stress to get things done can now be just offloaded to AI and say, okay, you figure it out. I'm just interested in fixing the plumbing leak. I'm just interested in making this roof beautiful. The rest you can figure out. So and we are saving, like, in many cases, millions and millions and millions of dollars for these companies, because they used to spend hours and hours and hours and employ a large number of people to get very small things done. But now those people can be focused on more creative work, more strategic work, more talking to clients, building those relationships. So that has been most satisfying part of what we do.
Love it.
And with everything that you've created and really being in the world you're in, and it would be 10 years from today, what do you think the legacy that you're starting to leave would look like?
Well, the legacy is, we have, so for example, some of our clients, they have a good business. They want to 10x it in the next 5 years or so. Now, 10xing a business is not something that, some people will just wake up and say, okay, that's my goal. Because most people will just say it's impossible. But now with these kind of technologies, it is possible. So we are helping them, fulfill those dreams. Just like Sandy, you mentioned, we all have dreams and really big visions for our lives. We just don't know how to get there, or we are getting there day by day. But once we put steroids on that, like, if you get closer to that goal faster, then those people who are successful, they make an impact on their audience or people they are serving. So we are working with some world class musician whose passion it is to teach music, and now they are teaching probably 100,000 to 200,000 students across the world. If they are able to teach 2 million students across the world, that will be my impacting one business, but in fact, indirectly impacting like 2 million people, right? So that's the legacy that I really focus on.
Thank you. That was great.
That is such a good question, Michael. That's phenomenal. That's awesome. Something I read about a couple months ago, and I think it's on the horizon, and that is the emergence of super artificial intelligence. And if I remember this correctly, SAI is that inflection point in which artificial intelligence becomes Skynet, right? It becomes smarter than human intelligence. Can you? You're not. It seems like you've heard this term thrown around. Is that a new term? Is that something that is expected? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it has been, many people have called it like AGI, super intelligence. A number of people use different terminology, but basically what it is, as human mind, like, we are intellectual, we are emotional beings. We look at a problem and then we try to find a solution to that problem. So let's take cure for cancer, let's say. Cancer kills so many people, and we've been trying to find a cure, like a vaccine or something along those lines, for like 6 decades or so, right? Now, say, Einstein had an IQ of like 170, but machines today have an IQ of 1,000. So if we give this problem to a machine to solve, the expectation is that they're not going to take 60 decades or 6 decades to solve this problem. They'll be probably able to solve this problem in 5 years. Now, if you extrapolate that, you can say, okay, even looking at the world around us and finding a problem to solve is not something that our human mind is capable of. We only solve the problems which are too big and they are visible to us, and they start bothering us so much that we have to do something about it. Now, let's say we have an AI which observes the world and says, hey, you don't even notice this problem where, like, you have a traffic problem in your city, and it can be optimized using this this solution. So now you can see, like, the AI itself is creating new solutions on its own, and it can start to, like, sort of generate its own algorithms and all of that. So that now gives rise to this super intelligent artificial intelligence that can manage itself. And some people are quite worried and scared about it, and they say, oh, that means it becomes conscious and everything. So I have been meditating for like 12-14 years, so I know a lot about human mind and human consciousness. So to that, I always respond, like, when people say, I'm afraid that AI will become conscious, I ask them, do you know what being conscious means? Because as humans, we don't know what consciousness is. And, we start to get scared about how machines will become conscious. So all it is, just trying to figure out these problems and whether machines can autonomously find these problems and solve it for us. So that's, in my mind, in my opinion, that's super intelligence.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much, because one thing you did today, and thank you for being on the show today, is you've made it very succinct, but because of that optimist side, and it's more than that, you really took the AI piece and you just made people feel comfortable. You also said to them, it is part of your world. It is here. It's been here a long time, and we're still here, right? You're just all starting to find out about it. And I think that was a brilliant piece. And talking about your legacy too, that's what people always want to know. What does that really mean? And the one thing you said again is you didn't talk about yourself. You talked about how you're going to affect other people, how you're going to help other businesses. And that's the of service model. That's the truly, I'm leaving my legacy here because I'm going to be of service. So any last points you'd like to make before we let you go? And thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much for great questions. I mean, I will just say, this is the biggest wealth building opportunity forever. Like, not even. So even if you combine the wealth created by the internet and the smartphone, AI is going to, like, just blow past that, like, within a couple of years. So please don't give in to the fear. Don't give in to the misinformation. This is going to build not just your life, but multiple generations to come. So the sooner you embrace this technology, sooner you understand it, the sooner it'll start benefiting you. So I just ask people to really open up their mind and embrace it and learn, because it's going to be transformational for them.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And they give you a big round of applause. There's this huge applause coming from everybody out there because of what you brought today. Tom?
Yeah. No, Manoj, thank you so much. With that, we are going to wrap up the show. I'll definitely be reaching back out to you here in a few weeks. So, Manoj, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, I have to say that we are at the end of the symposium. I do want to encourage everybody. I just put up a QR code in the top right-hand corner of the screen. The goal of this symposium, and we're going to have 3 more symposiums this year, is to, one, educate the general population and the business community at large. And the second is to create a community. And we do plan on putting out once a month, maybe twice a month, a newsletter or an AI update as new technology, as AI technology evolves. It's going to be important to stay abreast of the changes so you don't get left behind. And it is something we will be creating that community around a lot or many of these speakers you heard from today. And we are planning on the next symposium mid to late June. So definitely want to engage with us, stay up to date with things. We'd love to hear your comments, any questions that you might have. Please reach out to us. Thank you so much, Manoj. Appreciate it. Sandy, thank you so much for your time. Michael, thank you again for popping in and being here as well.
Yeah, it's been great. It's a great day because you took that to the next level and you really let people know that there's something bigger out here to do. And for all of you, this is the kind of thing that you make connection, you make a contact, you're part of a community. You're not out there alone. You're doing this because it's coming, it's here, it is the way it is. We even have that within podcasters and right, Sandy, there's this fear that this is going to take over everything. And remember, there is that human touch and that human point. And trust me, there'll be the part that will continue that. And there will be some that are AI. And that's part of where we're going. So you have to sort of let go of that. You have to just realize, I'm going to get on the train. I'm going to be on part of it. Look, we all jumped onto computers, like Sandy was saying, and there was a lot of fear around everybody. I know, what is this? And remember the first Macintoshes in college in I think my first one was 85 or 86. And I had the Radio Shack too, but we all do it and we adopted it, and it took us time. And look what happened in the microwave industry. Nobody had microwaves, and the whole world had microwaves within just a couple of years. Right. It's here, it's coming. So it's about learning and being part of it. You don't have to know it, but you're going to surround yourself with people who do. You get to know, like, and trust them, and that will move you forward anytime that really this whole technology will be it's part of your life now. So just know that, and let's move forward. Tom, great show today. Sandy, you two were just awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Thank you, Michael.
I want to leave the audience with 2 final thoughts. One is text LA Pod to 26786 if you're interested in joining the LA Tribune Podcast Network. They are one of the sponsors of the event, and I'll put that up right there. And then that's LAPOD to 26786. The second sponsor we have is mymentorhq.co. If you have also same text, MMHQ to 26786, that's Mary HQ to 26786. Again, thank you both. Appreciate it so much, and we'll see you at the next symposium.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.